Welcome back to another UCL Fantasy deadline stream, the first one of 2025. It has been over a month since we did one of these live streams, but all the content for Matchday 7 has been uploaded, the best limitless and wildcard teams, my own team selection, and of course, here we are with the deadline stream answering all your questions, so you're well prepared for the remainder of the league phase. There's going to be a low rotation, particularly in Matchday 8. That's going to be a chaotic deadline stream this time next week, but we'll talk more about that when the time comes. Our focus will be primarily on Matchday 7. Keep your comments plugging away, like the video if you enjoy it, and subscribe to the channel. We're making good strides towards 32 subscribers, our next big objective. And check all the links in the description below for my Patreon, the Championships Discord server, UCL Fantasy League, Spotify, and Blue Sky. There's a lot of links down there, and you can find me across most social media platforms by typing FPL Dylan or Dylan RCM. Let's start things off with Sidindra, who says, "Hey Dylan, thoughts on selling Mittelstadt flagged to Kolasinac, then sell Pulisic and Schick to Elise and one of Taremi, Abraham, or one of the Atalanta strikers, or sell Salah and Schick to Bellingham and any 7.6 million striker." I'd expect Salah to start, and I have seen some predicted lineups from Liverpool sources which indicate that, so I wouldn't be selling Salah this week. As for Mittelstadt, I've only seen one predicted lineup for Stuttgart, but he was in it. He was benched in the last two games though, and there are some slight concerns there, but he was on the bench, and I do expect him to start this game, although it's not a guarantee. I'm less convinced about Mittelstadt than I would be with Salah. Out of the options you discuss, even Pulisic, for example, who picked up an injury very recently, he also missed out the game against Juventus, a 2-0 win. He's in one of the predicted lineups for AC Milan, so it's going to be difficult, I think, to anticipate. There could be some surprising omissions or inclusions even. From those options you've mentioned, though, my favourite is probably going to be the Elise transfer. That is my favourite at the moment, and even selling Taremi or Abraham. Morata's actually back in training for AC Milan. There's a chance he starts for them. And with Inter Milan, you just never know. I've actually got a lineup, though, for Inter Milan that's going to be very reliable, so maybe you can make your final decision from that piece of news. Transfer out, Veerman and Saliba. Transfer in will be decided soon. Yeah, I think that's fairly standard. Saliba's missing Matchday 7, which is a shame. It's a good fixture on paper against Dynamo Zagreb with the head coach Fabio Cannavaro, actually. Thank you, Grigol. As he says, smash the like button if you enjoy the content and subscribe to the channel. Stenius Gamer says, should I take Kimmich and Vivi? Is that Vinicius? Or should I take Elise and Lewandowski? As a duo, I'd rather go for Elise and Lewandowski, but I'd really recommend a Madrid attacker this week if you can. Even Harry Kane as well. Alexandru says, I want to make 3 changes taking 1 hit. Saka, Musiala, Griezmann. 2. Option 1, Vinicius, Bellingham, Elise. Option 2, Vinicius, Bellingham, Lookman. And option 3, change Saka, Lewandowski, Griezmann to Vinicius, Retegui, Bellingham. They're all good options, to be fair. There's not much separating any of them. Musiala is expected to start. He has also missed the last couple of games. He's coming off the back of a small problem, but I wouldn't be selling him if you can. Out of the options you mentioned, though, I think my favourite might be number 3, you know. It might be number 3, but that's because I wouldn't want to sell Musiala this week. But that's my personal preference. Grigol says, I have in my team number 1, Haaland, Jonathan David, Lewis, Joe Gomez. I would like to replace. Only 1 free transfer left. Your suggestions, how many hits would you take? -4, I think. You wouldn't want to take too many. Erling Haaland's the best option of the lot, so Joe Gomez is out injured, and Liverpool will rotate anyway today. We'll see what they come up with. Rico Lewis, I think, will start, but it is PSG away, but I'd keep him out of those options. Jonathan David has a good Matchday 8 fixture, but unfortunately he faces Liverpool away tonight. He has been in decent form, fairly consistent throughout the season, but he has been a bit underwhelming for me in UCL Fantasy. I think the priority really is Erling Haaland to sell and go for another big hitter like Vinicius or Mbappe. It sounds crazy to say that because Haaland's available, great Champions League record, and he could score against PSG, but I think the most informed Man City attacker is undoubtedly Phil Foden at this moment in time. Yeah, good one, Eduardo. Thanks for reminding me, actually. So, Asensio, defender of Real Madrid for a cheap option. What do you think? He is touted to start, actually. So that's a really good choice at 4 million. It looks like Valverde will play right back as Lucas Vazquez is suspended. So, yeah, Asensio will start alongside Rudiger. And at 4 million, if you are struggling for a cheap defender, I think that's what I'd go for. But it is a Matchday 7 punt. There's no guarantee that will stick for Matchday 8. Who knows says, hey, welcome. Baraf says, I have Pulisic and Pau Torres. Should I replace them for a -8 or keep the same team? No. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, Pulisic is actually in the predicted lineup I saw for AC Milan. That doesn't mean he'll definitely start, but I'd probably keep him under those circumstances. Pau Torres, though, is definitively out. But taking a hit for defender, I don't think it'll pay off in most cases, but in UCL Fantasy, of course, it's more viable than FPL because of ball recoveries. But I have to say, I'd keep Christian Pulisic, and if anything, maybe take one hit for Pau Torres, but that's really about it. I have the wildcard, use it now. It's a team-dependent question, mate. I can't answer that definitively. I do like using the wildcard in Matchday 8, though, because you can essentially build a limitless team by chipping out your bench and investing in your starting 11. Now, you could say something similar about Matchday 7 now, and you can just, cheap out your bench, go for cheap options like Asensio, who will then be on your bench for Matchday 8. But I have to say, it's just going to be risky to navigate the rotation of Matchday 7 and 8 with the wildcard. I'd rather kind of tackle it with free transfers, maybe a hit this week, and then wildcard in Matchday. That's my personal preference. It's not going to be the same for everybody watching. Chase says, hey Dylan, which of these transfers would you go for? Haaland to Kane, Kimmich to Elise, Blažević to Emi Martinez, or Chan to Kolasinac? I have 2 free transfers. Should I take a -4 or even a -8? I'm just wondering who your other goalkeeper is, because if you got Di Gregorio, or Greg, as we like to call him, I'd probably just stick with that. Just keep Blažević, and he's not really going to do anything for you, but I'd only make that goalkeeper move if you got no one else other than Blažević and they're not going to start for you. Otherwise, the priority for me would actually be Harry Kane and Elise. Feyenoord are also without their first choice midfield free, which includes Quentin Timber. I think Bayern Munich could go big in Matchday 7. Emre Can has been, well, not him necessarily. Borussia Dortmund have been in poor form, but he's on penalties. He's got decent ball recovery potential and good fixtures, so yeah, I'd definitely go for the Bayern Munich assets in your situation. Afonso Luis says, should I do Alvarez for Mbappe, Saka for Bellingham, and Tillman for Lookman, but it's a -4? Yeah, is the simple answer. Che says, I'm unsure about choosing between Elise and Yamal. It'd be Elise for me. Yamal has been brilliant all season. I do think Elise is slightly better for goal contributions, particularly with goals, and Bayern Munich have more to play for, better fixtures. I think Elise is also slightly more in form, dare I say. I would go for the Frenchman. Captain Lookman or Salah, both great options, but I'm going for Salah personally, and it'd be the same thing if I had Lookman too. Which one do you prefer, DeMarco or Gabriel? Let's actually go into Inter Milan because, like I said, I had a predicted lineup and it's worth talking about it. So I'm going to go for some different screens now, and I'll try to go back to it later, but no guarantees. So if you haven't already, join the UCL Fantasy League. The code is in the description, cCaFxb, and with that auto-join link, you click it, and you are automatically in, as the name would suggest. As for Predict 6, which is also worth playing, these predictions were mainly done a month ago. I've only changed 1 or 2, mainly the Man City one based on their recent form. Atletico Madrid 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1 is my current prediction, but it could be a sneaky winner from either side, and it's a difficult game to predict. Benfica 1, Barcelona 3, Liverpool 3, Lille 0. Originally, I went for 2-0 Liverpool, and if they do rotate heavily, I might change that prediction accordingly, but I'd be very surprised if they didn't win tonight. Shakhtar Donetsk 1, Brest 2, PSG 1, Man City 2, and then Feyenoord 1, Bayern Munich 3, and I would not be surprised if it was a bigger scoreline than that, like 4-1, 5-1, maybe just 3-0, but these are my current predictions, and yeah, in a couple of hours I'll probably lock in, but after the deadline stream has passed. So these are the lineups I've seen. Inter Milan are expected to go for Sommer in goal, Pavard, De Vrij and Bastoni, Dumfries and DeMarco as the wing-backs, Barella, Aslani, Mkhitaryan completing the midfield, Lautaro Martinez alongside Thuram. So if you got Taremi, I would be looking to sell. You might be thinking it's just a predicted lineup, but Sky Sport Italia have been extremely reliable when it comes to Inter Milan predictions. If you actually cast your mind back to our previous deadline streams, I've actually mentioned the Inter Milan lineups quite frequently, and they've always been spot on because of Sky Sports Italia. So I'd be very surprised if this wasn't 100% accurate, but there could be 1 or 2 late changes. There always can be in football. But yeah, I think simple story. If you've got an Inter Milan defender like De Vrij, Pavard, Bastoni, Dumfries or DeMarco, they're great options for this match day. But the likes of Acerbi, for example, are ruled out, and Taremi is not expected to start. Calhanoglu is also out with an injury, so any of those options I would be looking to sell. The other one is a predicted lineup for Atletico Madrid, although I'm not as confident in this being true. I still think most of it will be accurate, but there could be 1 or 2 changes. Oblak in goal, Molina, Lenormand, Lenglet and Galan, Iliano, De Paul, Barrios and Gallagher, with Alvarez and Griezmann up front. So that is pretty much their strongest lineup, and you would expect that to be the case. They had a great winning streak before their 1-0 defeat against Leganés. 15 consecutive victories. They were the most informed team across Europe, but you can't win every game, unfortunately. That's the way the game is played. Later on, when the Atalanta and Aston Villa lineups are out, I'll be showing you them on screen. The same goes for their opponents, of course, Sturm and Monaco. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. Let's now go back, though, to my UCL Fantasy team, where I haven't made any transfers yet. Once the lineups are out, I'll start locking in my squads, and I'll also put some polls out in regards to the captaincy, my own transfers, which will help a lot of people watching as well. Mbappe or Vinicius? That's a key question. Vinicius has been better throughout this tournament, but Mbappe's slowly grown into the season. He's in electric form, and Mbappe does, or should I say Vinicius has a suspension risk. 1 more yellow, and he does miss matchday 8, so that's a slight concern, but otherwise I think he's a great option for the remainder of the league phase. Thank you for the super chat. Let's get that in now. Julio Peña, always a pleasure to see you. I have Peña, hence the name. Schmeichel, Hernandez, Lenglet, Kim Min-jae, Grimaldo, Timber, Rafinha, Paxal, Wirtz, Salah, Musiala, Alvarez, Lewandowski, and Gyökeres, or I've been told Gyökeres. I don't know. I don't care about his pronunciation. What transfers do you recommend? I have 2 free transfers and 0.5 million in the bank. Thanks. You've got a solid platform. Even players that I don't like so much, like Lenglet, they are expected to start, and they can get ball recovery points. Grimaldo, I think, is fixture-proof, and you don't want to sell him because he'll likely start in matchday 8, and he's got a fantastic game against Sparta Prague at home. Kim Min-jae, keep. Hernandez, that's Theo Hernandez, I'm guessing. Yeah, it is, because the other one's injured all the time. Yeah, Theo Hernandez, fine. Goalkeepers, well, yeah, Peña's a slight concern. You'd expect Szczesny to start now, but Schmeichel is pretty much fine on his own. I would be looking at the midfield and forward line in your case. So your front three is very solid. You might want to change Alvarez for this week, but once again, good matchday 8 fixture. Lewandowski to Vinicius or Mbappe could be a shout, but Lewandowski is always a good option in UCL Fantasy. You've actually got a solid team. I don't think anything particularly stands out. What I'd consider is 1 defender transfer, and that could be Lenglet, for example. I'd keep the rest of what you have. So Lenglet to 0.5 million in the bank is also worth bearing in mind. I just want to find a way to get Vinicius or Mbappe if possible, but if that's not the case, that'll be slightly trickier to navigate. It's a good question, and I have to double think about this because I'm quite happy with most of your team. It's just a few things here and there that could be fine-tuned. Yeah, the other possibility, actually, now looking at it, is probably your budget midfielder in Igor Paxial, facing Bayern Munich at home, then it's Lille away. He'd be ultimately the ideal one to sell in that midfield. I think Elise would be a great... Let me just double check your team, by the way, because if you said Elise, yeah. You've got Musiala already, but I wouldn't mind Elise and double up on that Bayern Munich attack that way. So Paxial to Elise, Gittin's still a good option despite Borussia Dortmund's recent form. That would certainly appeal to me. And try to find a way to buy a Real Madrid attacker, which could be Bellingham. I'm not so sure if I'd sell Salah or Musiala, though. In fact, I probably wouldn't. Even Florian Wirtz is ideally a keep. Rafinha too. The front line is solid. Alvarez to Guirassy is another option to consider. But I think the weakest links are probably Lenglet and Paxial. Bruno Silva, would you take out Lewandowski for Kane, Vinicius? Already have Mbappe for a -4. Not for a -4 hit. I don't think so. Harry Kane, great option to be fair for the last 2 match days, but could you not just do Lewandowski to Kane in matchday 8 for free? That would be something to consider. And like I mentioned earlier, if you buy Vinicius Jr. for a hit, he could be suspended for matchday 8, and you would need a massive haul this week to justify it, which is possible, but yeah, I'd just rather keep Lewandowski in that case. Take out Alvarez for Guirassy, Retegui for a -4. I'm more open to that, to be fair, but still a decent option Alvarez for the remaining 2 match days, or just don't waste the -4 hits on any of these subs. That is probably where my head's at. Avoid the -4 hit. It's not like FPL where you've got 38 game weeks and hits are ultimately a long-term tool. I know this extended format makes hits more viable in UCL Fantasy, but I try to avoid them when possible, and you've got good options anyway. You know, Lewandowski and Alvarez are two of the best strikers this season across Europe. I'd be looking to keep them if possible. Mbappe or Vinicius? It's a very close one. It's very, very close. I talked about this in my Limitless and Wildcard teams. Slight preference for Vinicius, but I might end up going for Mbappe myself simply because of the suspension risk. That's pretty much it. But Vinicius has been far better this season, particularly in the Champions League. It's only in the last month where Mbappe has come alive. Best team of clean sheet odds? Well, Arsenal actually top, despite Saliba being injured. He's missed training again, and he's going to miss a few games in the Premier League too, it looks like. I'm actually going to get that up on screen. We'll do that since I did have a look. I think it came up for me the other day. So just give me a second, because I'm fairly sure. I just got an update on William Saliba, by the way, and it's confirmed by Arteta. So Saliba is expected to be fit for Arsenal's home match against Man City on the 2nd of February, which would be Game Week 24. So he would only be missing Wolves away and Dynamo Zagreb at home. It looks like Arsenal have been very cautious and careful with this injury. But yeah, in UCL Fantasy terms, William Saliba is a sell. I've got him in my own setup. But let's get the clean sheet odds, which have been requested. And there's also the likely goal scorers, assuming that the players start, which I'll go through right now. So let me get these up on screen. And then we'll go back to my team and your questions, of course. What's that? I have most points. All right, here we go. Clean sheet likelihood. So this is according to the UCL Fantasy page at Champions League Fantasy Football Tips. So Arsenal are top. Real Madrid, Atalanta, Inter Milan, and AC Milan complete the top 5. Liverpool, Stuttgart, Celtic, Bayern Munich, Juventus, and Borussia Dortmund finish up the top 10 for clean sheet odds in Matchday 7. And this will be of some use to a few people watching, since Mbappe versus Vinicius will be a very popular question. Don't worry, I'll put a poll out myself and the community can decide. Mbappe is top here with 69%, but let's not forget Vinicius will have a better chance of assisting and probably of winning Player of the Match awards. Undav, Retegui, Kane, Salah, Lookman, Demirovic, Rodrigo, Fuenasi, Lewandowski and Bellingham complete the top 10, but that is the likely Matchday 7 goal scorers, assuming that they start. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat and feel free to rewind and pause if you want to catch up on any of those stats. But let's go back to my team for a little while, and afterwards, just for those that are maybe coming in a bit new, I'll go through some different screens. I actually forgot to put the Super Chat goal. There's so many things to set up when doing a live stream. So let me set that up very quickly. Keep on plugging away the likes. We've got over 300 people watching, but not many likes. So let's get that up to 200 plus to begin with, and then we can keep pushing on. Oh, YouTube is bugging out. I'm not sure what's happening there. Great. Okay. Something went wrong is coming up for me. So let's see if I can sort that out. What the? Oh, okay. Yeah, YouTube is a bit iffy sometimes. All right. All right, that should be sorted now. I'm going to set up this Super Chat goal. So let's get this up here. Okay. We'll be done in a few seconds. We still got plenty of time, by the way, for the deadline. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get some repeat questions. Just bear in mind some of them might be skipped just for the sake of repetition. But yeah, if we do hit the Super Chat goal, we will continue for even longer. That is pretty much one of the main benefits of reaching these Super Chat goals. And we've reached it plenty of times, actually, in FPL and UCL Fantasy streams. Let's get this show on the road. And hopefully I can sort out this chat. Yeah, that should be done. All right, so let's whiz through these. Kane versus Vinicius versus Mbappe. That's extremely difficult to say. I think they're all excellent options. I'd probably favour a Real Madrid attacker personally, but you can't go wrong with any of them. I'd say Vinicius at the moment. Lookman versus Olise. Lookman. Rudiger versus Kolasinac. Probably Rudiger because Kolasinac faces Barcelona matchday 8. But remember, you don't need a 15-man squad for Matchday 8 because everyone plays at the same time. You can't change the captaincy or make subs. So that's also another reason why some of you might want a wildcard now, because even if you've got 7-8 players that are going to be rotated or are doubtful for Matchday 8 to start, you only need 11 players, and with 2 free transfers, maybe a hit, you can wildcard and have a strong team for Matchday 7 and also a solid platform for the final matchday of the league phase. Welcome, Ezequiel. Hola, Dylan. Tengo free transfers. Mis delanteros son Lewandowski, Griezmann y Gyökeres. ¿Sugieres cambiar alguno por Mbappé, Vinicius o Kane u otro? Probablemente Griezmann a Vinicius o Mbappé estaría muy bueno, y te digo la verdad, Harry Kane sería un buen fichaje también para tu equipo. Pero me gusta Griezmann. Está jugando muy bien para el Atlético de Madrid y en la Champions está anotando goles, pero jugando contra Bayer Leverkusen creo que es una buena oportunidad venderlo. No por un -4 si es posible, pero en tu caso obviamente es un free transfer, así que me gusta mucho. Y en este momento prefiero Vinicius Jr., pero la única duda que tengo de él es que si obtiene una amarilla más, va a estar suspendido para la jornada 8. Así que si quieres ir un poquito más seguro, Mbappé o Harry Kane serían muy buenos también. 800 in the world, really good stuff. Saka. Yeah, the chat's all over the place. I don't know what's happening here. What do you think about Kane to Mbappe? I'd keep what you have, mate. I wouldn't be selling one to the other. I think DeMarco is worth buying, but with all Inter Milan players, you've got a slight risk of rotation. They've done it a lot in the defender positions this season, so he's going to start Matchday 7, it looks like. But what about Matchday 8? I couldn't guarantee you it. Best Saka replacement, probably Bellingham, but it's all team dependent, your budget, what other moves you want to make. Worth selling Lewandowski or Kane to Vinicius or Mbappe? Maybe Lewandowski, but Barcelona are the top scorers in this season's Champions League. They've actually missed 55 big chances in La Liga, but if Lewandowski has his shooting boots on, he's a great option regardless, but I'd consider Lewandowski to a Madrid attacker, for sure. Who's better, Kane, Mbappe or Vinicius? As I just said in Spanish, I think there's not much to separate any of them, and I also said it earlier in English. A slight preference for Vinicius, but he is a suspension risk, so bear that in mind. Hi Dylan, I have Emi Martinez and Trubin in goal, but they are playing today. Don't worry too much about goalkeepers, because ultimately in Matchday 8, you can't rotate them anyway, because they all play at the same time. I think Martinez is fine. I think you just maybe go for him, unless you fancy a Shakhtar clean sheet against Brest, which is, I want to say impossible, but unlikely. I don't think a goalkeeper transfer is the priority in a lot of situations. Maybe you're happy with your outfield players, and in that case, a goalkeeper move isn't too shabby. You can go to Sommer, Courtois, Raya, etc. But otherwise, you're not going to gain too many points from goalkeepers. I did it last week. I bought Alisson for Blažević, and in the end, if I just kept Di Gregorio, it's just 6 points compared to 7. Not a massive gain. I could have bought Saka instead and got 19 points from him. So, yeah, I'd rather make outfield transfers, to be honest. Who's better, Gittins or Reinders? I'm guessing that is. It'd be Gittins for me. Want to go with a 14-man squad, as I have Saliba, Gomez, Pulisic, but I'm afraid of possible rotation risk this match day. Well, Joe Gomez is definitely out. The same goes for Saliba. Pulisic might start for you, Ivan, so I'd probably focus, even though it's not ideal, on making defender moves in your case. But yeah, there are going to be concerns with Matchday 8 too. You might get someone who starts this week, but it's not going to be a guarantee this time next week. So our wildcard in Matchday 8, I think that is the best course of action for a lot of people, not everyone, and I think it is possible to wildcard now and do really well for both match days remaining in the league phase, but it's going to be difficult. Salah, Trent are keeps or skips. I think Trent will be benched, and some Liverpool lineups I saw actually had Bradley starting, which is not really a surprise, but Salah is expected to start. So Salah's a keep. I think Trent's a skip. I wouldn't be looking to buy him. Best match to target this match day. Lille at home for Liverpool. Real Madrid facing Salzburg for sure. Bayern Munich against Feyenoord, especially with the Dutch outfit having their entire midfield wiped out. I would say Arsenal, but I'm less keen on them now. But doubling up defensively is still viable. Raya in goal and Gabriel, maybe Timber as a cheap defender. Inter Milan against Sparta Prague. These are some of the games I target. And if you rewind a few minutes to the top 10 teams of clean sheet probabilities, I think those are the sorts of teams you want to really invest in for Matchday 7. That includes Celtic as well, by the way, even Borussia Dortmund. But just bear in mind, some of these teams are inconsistent. Best captain out of Wirtz, Lewandowski and Rafinha. Probably Rafinha for me. Lewandowski second and Wirtz third. I think Wirtz overall is the best option, but he is facing Atletico Madrid this week, so that's why he's quite low down there. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the kind words, and good luck for Matchday 7. Best replacement for Saliba, 1.2 in the bank. It's going to be one of those players, or covering one of those teams I just mentioned, Real Madrid, maybe Arsenal like for like. I'm not a huge fan of Rudiger, but he's got something to play for, a bit of ball recovery potential, and you'd see one clean sheet for Real Madrid over the next two. Kim Min-jae's a ball recovery machine. Maybe an Inter Milan option, but rotation's a possibility in Matchday 8. So there's a lot of different ways you can go. I don't think there's a standout. Check my best Limitless and Wildcard team videos, and I think ultimately go for the one you are most confident in starting for Matchday 7 and 8. I think that's the way to go about it. For you, who's the best midfielder for 7 million or under? It's between Lookman and Elise for me. Gittins is, exceptional value as well, of course, but because of Borussia Dortmund's recent form, I'd be more keen on the other two. Milot, Musiala, Lookman, Rafinha, take one out. You don't need to, mate. I think they're all good options, and it all depends who you're buying. So let me know what your plans are, but I think they're all holds, actually. Musiala has missed the last couple of games, but reports indicate he will start this week. I have Saka, Saliba, Tillman. Any suggestions? I'd be open to a -4 hit in your situation. The priority, of course, would be Saka. He's missing Matchday 7 and 8. Although Tillman is facing Liverpool, he's cheaper than Saka, and he's going to be available for Matchday 8, unlike Saka. As for Saliba, he could be back for the Girona game next week. Well, actually, nah, I doubt that will be the case, actually. No, he's not going to be risked for that. So yeah, I think the priorities for you would be selling Saka and Saliba, and a -4 hit from Tillman to Lookman or Elise. I'd take the plunge, actually. Bellingham to replace Saka, good option, and I just covered defenders a few minutes ago. Not worth going for again. Gvardiol to Gabriel, possibly, but Man City are in good form, and despite Arsenal facing Dinamo Zagreb, this is a good time to play the Gunners, in my opinion. They've not kept a clean sheet in 6 consecutive games, and I think they'll keep a clean sheet, but it's not a guarantee now. Who to captain between Rafinha, Guirassy, Wirtz, Lookman? It'd be Lookman for me. Yeah, like I just mentioned, I think DeMarco is worth a purchase, but there's no guarantee he starts both, mate. I can't guarantee that for you, so you've got to ultimately back your gut, and if you think he's going to start both, I think he's definitely worth a punt. Hola Dylan, ¿qué opinas de vender a Haaland por Kane o Mbappé? Es mi plan en este momento, también Vinicius Jr., así que estoy de acuerdo con esa transferencia. Best Saka replacement, Bellingham, as covered earlier. Sell or keep Demirovic? More of a sell, but it's all team dependent. I think so, W only. I covered this back in the summer. Anytime between Matchday 2 to 7, I think that's the best opportunity to use the Limitless. You could argue Matchday 8, that's fair enough, and I get that some people will be different about it, but one of the key kind of aspects of the Limitless is the fact that you can go for the most expensive team, target plum fixtures, and you aren't really able to do that in the latter stages of the competition where you get a 5 million increase to your budget for the round of 16 in Matchday 11. And not only that, if you look at Matchday 8, for example, everyone plays at the same time, so you can't make substitutions or change the captaincy, just like for the Champions League final in Matchday 17. So when I look at it from that perspective, I think using the Limitless in Matchday 8 is very limiting, actually, and you aren't really fully, how do I say this? You don't fully grasp the capabilities and full potential of the chip. So I'd rather use it now in Matchday 7. Who should I get for both Saka and Tillman? I covered that just a few minutes ago, actually, mate. So Lookman or Elise for Tillman, and for Saka, Bellingham would be a front runner. I have Saka, Saliba, and thinking to get a hit for Jonathan David. Yeah, Gyökeres would be my favourite, or maybe Guirassy. They would be good replacements for Jonathan David, so that's absolutely fine. Best captain options this week, Salah, Lookman, Rafinha, Lewandowski, Vinicius, Mbappe, Harry Kane. I think those would really stand out to me. Do we get a new wildcard Limitless after the group stages? No. You only get one per season, which I covered in my chip strategy guide, and you do get unlimited transfers for Matchday 9, but that isn't a wildcard because it's not like you can decide I'm only going to use free transfers, make 2 moves and then save the wild card for later. That's not the case. You can make unlimited transfers for Matchday 9 and 11, but that's about it. It's like when you start the season in Matchday 1 building your team for the first time, but ultimately the answer to your question is no. It's up to you, Cordero, if you want to captain Salah. I think he's going to start, and he's my personal favourite Tuesday captain. But there is a slight risk of rotation still. It's completely up to you there. Kobel or Di Gregorio? Slight preference for Kobel, but Borussia Dortmund have been terrible recently. Yeah, I think using the wildcard in Matchday 8 is ideal, at least compared to using it now. You can still find a way to navigate both Matchday seamlessly with the wildcard chip, but it's going to be very difficult to navigate. Decathlari or Retegui? Based on recent form, I'd probably say Decathlari, but they're both decent options. Captain Rafinha or Lookman? Probably Lookman, sorry. It's just a fixture, and you've also got the Wednesday captain to fall back on. Lookman's more of a differential, and he's been in better form, arguably, than Rafinha, so that's the way I'd look at it. Yeah, so I don't know your teammate, but if you still got the wild card, in most cases, I'd recommend using it in Matchday 8, because in Matchday 9, you can still build a team specifically for the knockout playoff rounds. And yeah, you've got unlimited transfers to do that. The same goes for Matchday 11 for the round of 16 and beyond. Captain Guirassy or Lookman? It's going to be Lookman, mate. I'm not going to favour Borussia Dortmund players for the captaincy this week. Rafinha or Mbappe captain? Mbappe. What do you think about Gittins? Look, he's not a bad option. It's just Dortmund aren't great at the moment. And I think Gittins is already fine enough to have in your team, not to captain. But that's my opinion. If you back them to win big, go for it. But I think Borussia Dortmund might struggle a little bit more than we'd originally anticipate. Go for Bayern or Inter defender? Probably a Bayern one because there's less chance of rotation. Kim Min-jae gets ball recovery, so I'd probably just go for him if you're covering Matchday 7 and 8. I think Salah starts today. That's my opinion, so take that with a pinch of salt. Lookman or Salah? Salah for me. I am backing him to start. Alvarez to Mbappe, Foden to Bellingham, and Wirtz to Gittins. Yeah, all good moves, but if you can afford Alvarez to Mbappe and Foden to Bellingham without selling Wirtz, I'd highly recommend that, and you probably want him back for Matchday 8. Jakobus's team, I have Nubel, Israel, Kim Min-jae, Theo, Saliba, Van Dijk, Jimenez, Kun, Reinders, Saka, Salah, Musiala, Alvarez, Gyökeres, Vinicius. Need to take out Saka and Saliba. It's pretty much the same as what I said earlier, mate. So to replace Saka, I'd probably go for Bellingham, and you could also consider Lookman or Elise. And for Saliba, you've got a decent defensive line already, but one thing you could do is go for Rudiger and just go all in on Real Madrid. But yeah, all of that has been covered before. Decathlari or Lewandowski? Still Lewandowski for me, but not much in it. Yeah, Elise is absolutely fine goalhead. I've been quite big on him. He was actually on the thumbnail for the wildcard team very recently. Also saw one more from David, Alexandro, and Pacho. Is that Alessandro from Lille? If that's the case, it's still probably going to be Jonathan David, because at least Alessandro can get ball recovery points, and William Pacho the same thing, so I don't mind keeping him, actually. Yeah, I think captaining Salah is fine, and you've always got the Wednesday captain to fall back on if he doesn't start. Dimzona says, hey Dylan, so you put your team, what do you recommend? Yeah, I think Haaland to one of Kane, Mbappe, or Vinicius is a standout transfer for you. I think I'd keep the other two for now. You've got Gyökeres already. In the midfield, I'm also quite happy with it. I think Saka's the only one to sell. You go to Bellingham or maybe Musiala, Lookman, Elise. I think that's pretty much what I'd be looking at, mate. You could take a -4 hit and replace Saliba too, but with Grimaldo, Kim Min-jae, Hernandez and Kubarsi, I think you can get away with 2 free transfers, mate. I'd look to sell Haaland to one of those options I mentioned, and Saka to Bellingham, preferably. Di Gregorio and Chan expected to start? Yes, as far as I'm aware, they're both expected to start. Also, if I go for Kane, I can't pick Elise, have Musiala and Kim Min-jae. Other midfielders are Gittins, Rafinha, Lookman. Yeah, but maybe instead of Kane, you can go for Mbappe or Vinicius anyway, right? So if that's the case, maybe balance your team that way. You can't have them all, of course. If I still haven't used my wildcard, that's been covered, mate. I highlighted your question earlier. The answer is Matchday 8 for most people. Best defender under 4.8 million. I think for this week, it'd be Asensio from Real Madrid. He's 4 million. He might not start Matchday 8, though. Timber is a decent choice, but he has been overplayed, so an early sub won't surprise me. I'm with Calafiori back and potentially getting some minutes. It's a slight risk, but yeah, I think those two would spring to mind for me. Take a -4 for Elise, Kim Min-jae, and Alexander to swap out Martinez, Saliba, and Tillman. Is that Alexander-Arnold? If so, I wouldn't recommend it personally. I don't think he starts, and that's what the lineups I've seen have also indicated. Or keep Saliba and hope he's fit. I don't think he will be. He's going to miss the Wolves game, and he's also going to miss Dynamo Zagreb this week, of course. And yeah, I think he'll kind of be wrapped in cotton wool for the Man City game the weekend after this one. So yeah, I don't think he starts in Matchday 7 or Matchday 8 as well. Enzo Miller, a good shout? Yes, he is, which has been covered in my videos. If I still haven't used, yeah, I don't know why you keep asking the same question. Should I sell Haaland for Kane or Vinicius? It's close. I have a slight preference for Vinicius, but they're both excellent choices. Just bear in mind, Vinicius is 1 yellow card away from suspension. Why not Lewandowski captain and choose Salah? I never said you have to go for Salah captain, mate. It's just I was asked about Salah, and he's my favourite for the Tuesday. Should I sell Haaland for Kane? I probably would, yeah. If not Mbappe or Vinicius. Yeah, thank you to Dave and the others for moderating the chat, because some of these have been answered already. So yeah, let's get the likes up to 200 plus to begin with, and then we'll keep on pushing towards new goals. What are your predicted rotations? I can't think of all them all off the top of my head, but I think Trent will be benched for Liverpool, for example. I think it's more of an issue in Matchday 8 rather than Matchday 7, but certain teams are in a good position to be able to rotate now and still get the job done. Yeah, I think Timber's probably it, mate, like I mentioned before. That is the best 4.4 million defender or under. Kane or Mbappe as a replacement for Haaland or Gyökeres? Yeah, at the moment, a slight preference for Mbappe, but they're both excellent choices. Who could I replace Saka and Saliba with? Bellingham, and I don't know which defenders you have already, which makes this very difficult to answer, but Rudiger would be pretty decent too. Hey Dylan, best replacement for Jonathan David, under 7.8 million. Thinking of Retegui or Undav. Also, De Ketelaere from Atalanta is another shout, but they do face Barcelona away in Matchday 8, so bear that in mind. Yeah, I think they're both good choices, to be fair. Guirassy, if I'm not mistaken, could also fit that bill, but I'd have to double check that. He might be slightly above that price threshold. Yeah, he is 7.8 million. And the other one, yeah, Gyökeres is slightly higher. So yeah, under 7.8 million, I'm kind of in agreement with you. Those are the two best options alongside De Ketelaere, actually. No, Guirassy is not essential, especially considering Dortmund's form. Which defender will you bring for 2 weeks? I might not make a defender transfer. Jerry says, thank you very much. Yeah, Trent. Okay, I'll look for a replacement for Saliba. Look, there is a chance he starts. It's just in the lineups I've seen, and also considering Liverpool's hefty schedule this week and throughout the month, I do think Trent will be benched. They've got Conor Bradley waiting to start, and it's not a massive downgrade. They can still get the job done against Lille, so I'd be surprised if Trent starts, that's all. Is Lookman a good captain? Yes, he is a good captain. I'm seeing some info Elise doesn't start. From what I've seen, he is going to start, but there are going to be conflicting reports, actually. I'm not sure which player it was, but it might have been Pulisic, actually, where some people were saying he's not going to start and then others are saying he will. So that will happen sometimes, but I think Elise will get the nod. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Yeah, Guirassy's a good pick, but he's not essential. There's a clear distinction. I've accidentally activated my wildcard. Suggest the best squad for Matchday 7 and 8. It's covered in my wildcard video, mate. It's probably not worth rehashing that too much. I'm not going to add too much more insight compared to what I did yesterday. I'll go to the team now myself and see if there's any changes from what's happened 24 hours ago, but I wouldn't be holding your breath. So instead of Vinicius, if you don't want to risk the suspension risk there with him, maybe go for Mbappe instead, but that's completely up to you. I think Milot in for Tillman is absolutely fine. Obviously, Tillman's suspended this week. The rest I'm fairly happy with. Now, there is the possibility of going for a different sort of structure, where instead of one of Harry Kane or the Madrid attacker, you go for a cheaper option like Gyökeres and Guirassy up front, and then you go for Pulisic if you want to risk it in the midfield, or you go for Bellingham. But ultimately, there's not much new compared to what I talked about in that wildcard video. Jurriën Timber as a budget option could be a shout for you. Thank you, Samuel. Best replacement for Saliba and Morata. Morata's back in training, by the way, and he could start, but that's up in the air. Best replacement for Saliba, it's difficult to say. Van Dijk looks good, but might be benched in Matchday 8. One of Dumfries or De Vrij look fairly solid, at least for Matchday 7. Rudiger, Kim Min-jae. maybe those are the two you should be looking at who are kind of safe across both match days if you're quite worried about rotation. Yes, I do play games on PC and mobile, mainly on PC, but it has been a while, almost a year, that I've kind of left KOTOR 2, Knights of the Old Republic, in the dust. I need to go back to it. In fact, it was the first game. Hey Dylan, how have you been? Yeah, all good. Hopefully you are too. Captain Rafinha or Salah? It's going to be Salah for me, mate. Lewandowski or Vinicius or Mbappe or Kane? They're all great choices. You can't go wrong with any of them, but I think Vinicius, if you can avoid the yellow, is probably the best, but honestly, I think they're all really good. There's going to be very fine margins between them. Hello, Dylan. I already did a -4 before Sleeper's injury. I'd probably just keep it as it is. If you've got 14 available players, that's fine. Musiala, Bellingham, or Foden? Yeah, it's going to be Bellingham for me. I think Mittelstadt starts, but he hasn't done in the last couple of matches. Should I take Alvarez out for Vinicius or Mbappe? Yeah, I'm going to be asked this question to death today. I mean, I get it. I'm also in the same boat where I haven't fully decided yet, but across my videos, I made it quite clear Vinicius is my preference, but the suspension risk is an issue, which you might want to avoid. Just go for Mbappe outright. He's also in better form, arguably. But yeah, I think taking out Alvarez for one of them is fine. It's just a question of which one you want to go for. You can't go wrong, in my opinion. Yeah, Salah should start. I think Pulisic will play based on what I saw in terms of the reports, but they could be inaccurate or something happens late on. He is quite injury prone, so I wouldn't be buying him in, but if I had Pulisic, I'd consider holding him. Which 6 teams will join Liverpool and Barcelona in the top 8? I mean, I'm not sure why the question's phrased like that. I mean, both of them aren't guaranteed yet for the top 8 or the top 16. With round of 16, but yeah, I guess Inter Milan, Arsenal, Bayer Leverkusen, we'll wait and see. I mean, there's going to be some surprises, actually. I don't think Bayern Munich or Real Madrid will quite get there. Man City definitely won't, but there's going to be some surprises. Who's the best defender for this and next game week? Impossible to say, in my opinion. A lot of variables, rotation. I think that's why you maybe go safe and go for Kim Min-jae, Rudiger. Maybe they're not the best options, but the safest. I have Alvarez and a free transfer. Should I go to Guirassy? Possibly. I think that is an upgrade. But Dortmund are in poor form. Zul says, already made 2 free transfers, but thinking of doing Lewandowski or Griezmann to Mbappe for a -4. Thoughts? I'd rather sell Griezmann out of the 2, and Mbappe is absolutely fine. For a -4 here, I'm a bit concerned, but it can pay off. So yeah, if you've got the Limitless and Wildcard, my advice would be Limitless now, Wildcard Matchday 8. And you've got unlimited transfers in 9 and 11. Bench 2, Trent, Upamecano, Kubarsi, Grimaldo, Timber. It's not a question of benching, mate. In UCL Fantasy, you start the players who play on the Tuesday. Then during the sub window, you make the changes accordingly. Take off your low-scoring players for those yet to play. It's not a question of benching 2 of them. I have Saliba, Lewis, Kubarsi, 3 Dortmund players, Foden and Haaland. Would you wildcard or just use 2 free transfers and save wildcard for Game Week 8? Yeah, I'd probably save the wildcard, but I understand your question. It is a good one. Is Diaz playing? I'm not fully sure about that. I think he will start. Jota's out injured. I think Gakpo will get a rest, which will be good for my FPL team, as I'll cover very soon. But yeah, I think it would be Diaz, Darwin and Salah. But there are different lineups floating around. Thank you, Ryan. Emre Can's okay. I wouldn't be looking to buy him in. Dortmund are in poor form. I can't stress that badly enough. To replace Tillman, I'd be looking at Lookman or Elise. Vinicius and Mbappe or Vinicius and Lewandowski. At the moment, it would be the 2 Madrid players. Yeah, Kolasinac is fine. I don't know what more I can say about him. He was covered in the Limitless and Wildcard videos in quite a lot of detail, actually. What's the situation of Jimenez and Mittelstadt? Mittelstadt, I think, had a slight problem. He has missed the last couple of games, but he was on the bench. The reports indicate he will be in the lineup, but it's only one lineup I've seen on Twitter. It's nothing concrete. It might be inaccurate. So, you know, take that into account. I did cover Atletico Madrid earlier, by the way. And let's actually go back to it. So yeah, Jimenez isn't expected to start. It should be Molina, Lenormand, Lenglet and Galan. And as for Inter Milan, for those that are tuning in new, Sommer, Pavard, De Vrij, Bastoni, Dumfries, Barella, Aslani, Mkhitaryan, DeMarco, Lautaro and Thuram. If you've got Taremi, Acerbi, Kalanoglu, I'd be looking to sell these players. And 2 of them are definitively out. Taremi is still in the squad. The other two are injured. But yeah, this lineup is very reliable. It's from Sky Sport Italia, who pretty much always get it spot on with Inter Milan. And these are some of my predictions for UCL Predictor, now called Predict 6. Maybe I'll go back to it after the deadline has passed. Let's go back to my team for now. And in a short while, I'll be covering the lineups for both early kickoffs, Atalanta versus Sturm Graz and Monaco versus Aston Villa. And maybe there'll be some surprises there. But once those lineups come out, I'll be locking in my transfers. That's the plan. Yeah, I think Tielemans is a decent option. Scored a header against Arsenal recently and a good record in the Champions League this season. Yeah, for me, wildcard in 8 if you can, but it is team dependent. Best defender tonight. I think Van Dijk will be up there. Kolasinac. Yeah, I think these would be some of the options I'd be looking at. Mittelstadt, if he starts, is okay, but it's probably going to be Kolasinac for me. That's probably my favourite Tuesday defender. All right, let's get these new questions up. How many points is it worth to change goalkeeper from one day to another? I mean, if you get a clean sheet, I mean, even 5 points, let's say a clean sheet and a yellow card, I'd just keep that in your starting 11. Start Nubel or Emi Martinez? Probably Nubel. I think Monaco score against Villa. Would you still make your limitless team from a couple of days ago? Yeah. I think the only change is Trent, because I don't think he starts now. So him to Van Dijk is absolutely fine. Would you go to Musiala or Elise on a limitless? Probably Musiala, but they're both excellent choices. Yep. Raul Asensio is going to play. 4 million Real Madrid defender. Budget option for Matchday 7, but just be careful about him starting in Matchday 8. No, I've used the limitless already, mate, so I can't use it. Pulisic to Lookman. I see what you're doing there, but there is a chance Pulisic starts. If you're happy with the rest of your team, I'd probably do it, but just bear in mind, there is a possibility Pulisic gets the nod. Di Gregorio or Martinez, I think Di Gregorio has a better chance of a clean sheet. Monaco are a decent team, actually, despite their comprehensive loss against Arsenal last month. Would you take a -4 to get out Joe Gomez injured? Probably not, mate. Probably not. Especially if you've got 14 good players in your squad. I don't think there's a need. Lewandowski, Rafinha or Salah captain? Salah. And tomorrow, probably Vinicius. Hey Dylan, I was thinking of changing Wirtz to Bellingham, Grimaldo to Dumfries. Also want to change Trent. Well, yeah, look, the Trent thing is my opinion and the lineups I've seen. It could be wrong, but I think it makes sense for Bradley to start. I'm not a big fan of selling Grimaldo, to be honest, because he will probably start in Matchday 8. Great fixture against Sparta Prague at home. And Dumfries could be rotated by then. So, yeah, that could be a transfer waiting to happen. Even Wirtz, who is a great option, even for Matchday 7, although the fixture is quite tough on paper. But yeah, good transfers overall. I like the players you're bringing in, but selling Wirtz and Grimaldo at the same time, I'd reconsider and try to keep one of them at least. Thank you, Bruno. Dumfries a good option? Yes, which is why he was covered in the best limitless team. Is he going to start in Matchday 8? Not a guarantee, but if you are backing it, then a decent investment. Budget player under 5.5. Which position are we talking about, though? If it's the midfield, it's probably Gittins for me. Thoughts on having Foden, Musiala and Bellingham? I like it. It probably means a sacrifice in the offensive line, though. And despite Foden's form, he is facing PSG away this week. So I'm not sure if I'd buy him in. If you've got Foden, he's probably worth holding, but I'd rather use that money up front, maybe on Phil Foden. Chan and Brandt expected to be benched. Thank you, Ahmed. Let me know where you got it from, and we'll have a look. Elise versus Lookman. Slight preference for Lookman, but he does have a tougher fixture in Matchday 8. Saliba and Gomez injured. Should I drop one of them for Boskagli? If it's for free, maybe. But my issue with Boskagli now is you've got an away fixture against Red Star Belgrade, and then it's Liverpool at home. So I'm not that confident of a clean sheet. I bought Boskagli, I think, last week or the week before last, and he's been okay because of ball recoveries, but yeah, I'd only do it for a free transfer, and there are probably better options elsewhere, but it would probably mean spending more money. I wouldn't mind going to Kolasinac still, despite facing Barcelona away in Matchday 8. Cheap forward, Decatelari. Yep, Raul Asensio has been mentioned by name quite a lot by viewers and myself throughout this stream. If you're looking for a 4 million defender to start in Matchday 7, I think he's a good option, and you can bench him in Matchday 8 when everyone plays at the same time. You can't make subs, change the captaincy, yada yada yada. So he's absolutely fine, I think. Mbappe or Kane? Mbappe. Hola Dylan, ¿vale la pena un -8 para comprar a Salah y a Kolasinac? Creo que sí, pero siempre hay una posibilidad que Salah no va a jugar porque Liverpool está en una posición muy buena. Y digo la verdad, Salah no va a jugar en la jornada 8. Si él empieza hoy y ganan, me sorprendería mucho si Salah empieza también en la jornada 8 en contra PSV. Selling Gutierrez, which defender should I replace him with? Kolasinac looks pretty good to me, mainly for Matchday 7 though. Jurian Timber's another. Decatelare or Aktakoglu for cheap forward option. Decatelare. And also, that reminds me, Yildiz is not expected to start against Club Brugge. It looks like he's going to get a rest. He's just coming off the back of a slight injury problem, a small injury problem. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. Yeah, I think Kim Min-jae is nailed. It's not like last season when he was in and out of the team. He should start most games for Bayern Munich. No news on Mittelstadt, mate. The only thing I can say is that I've seen one lineup for Stuttgart and he was in it, but he has missed the last couple of games. Wildcard for Matchday 8 is good. Yeah, I think so, but it's team dependent, mate. I don't know your team. I can't answer it definitively. Best replacement for Saliba and Morata. You've asked this before, and I've answered it. For Saliba, it'd be one of Jurian Timber as a like-for-like replacement. Gabriel, Van Dijk. It's impossible for me to say without knowing your team because I might be saying players you've got already, and maybe I'm advocating a double up for you or a triple up, which isn't really what my intention is. As for Morata, the best replacements for him, Gyökeres, I think is pretty decent. Guirassi's fine. Decatelare, Retegui. My favourite would be Gyökeres. Joao Vieira says, hey Dylan, I want Vinicius but have no money. Is it worth selling Salah? Yeah, probably just based on that it'd be no, the answer to your question. For Joao Neves, Elise, nah, not for me. I think Salah starts, so I wouldn't recommend selling him. For those that don't have Salah, it's kind of awkward to buy him in now because you might be buying a player who's benched today or at least in Matchday 8, which is my prediction. Also have Tomori, so do I go Vinicius and good plus cheap, either mid or defense for -4? Yeah, Vinicius is fine. You don't need to... So yeah, you're struggling to get Vinicius, I understand that, but I wouldn't be selling Salah, to be honest. Also have Tomori, so to go Vinicius and good. Yeah, I'm not sure which defenders or midfielders we're talking about, like what price. But in terms of very cheap defenders, Raul Asensio from Real Madrid at 4 million, Jurian Timber. In the midfield, I mean, Gittins if you can get away with it, but it is 5.3 million. But don't sell Salah, in my opinion. Is Mittelstadt set to start or a doubt? I think he's going to start, but he is doubtful. Like, there's no guarantee he's going to start, mate. Will you keep Saliba? Not something I want to do, but I might have to in the end. Is De Vrij more likely to start in Gemicate than Dumfries? I think so. Wildcard for Matchday is good, yeah. Vinicius, Mbappe or Kane? My preference is Vinicius, but I've covered that to death. Mbappe or Vinicius and why? Look, I get the question. It's very popular this week, and it's a topic I've covered a lot in my videos and stuff. I think Vinicius is the slightly better option. My problem with him is he's one yellow card away from suspension, so if you want to go safe, the inform Mbappe is absolutely fine, but I think Vinicius has a higher ceiling, and he's also got the assists and the Player of the Match awards to boot. So, look, it's very close, but Vinicius has been better this season, and I've got more confidence in him than Mbappe, but it's getting very close now. Hey Dylan, ¿cuál comprarías? Foden, Bellingham or Musiala? Bellingham. Transfer in Decatelare for Santi Jimenez? Yes. Tommy Raw says, hi Dylan, I have Saliba, Saka and Tillman, so a -4 may be inevitable. Would you sell them for Lookman, Elise and Gabriel, or any other option recommended? You could consider keeping Saliba, especially if your other 4 defenders are fine, because not many hits for defenders will pay off, especially with rotation and Matchday 8 in mind. But yeah, Lookman, Elise and Gabriel looks really good to me, I'm not going to lie. There is a slight chance Elise doesn't start. I think he will, but some lineups will have Elise on the bench. Maybe Milot could be another option for you as well, but ultimately, they're very good transfers. Trossard or Lookman to buy? Lookman. Foden to Lookman and Gyökeres to Vinicius to fund that. I need to sell Koundé for Kolasinac. Worth it? So for a -4 hit, yes, I think it is worth it, but you're selling Gyökeres. I'm not a big fan of that, if I'm being honest, and even the informed Foden, that could backfire. But ultimately, good transfers in. I'd say yes, but it's very, very close. I still have the wild card. I'm looking to use it in Matchday 8, but it's not a certainty. I'm keeping my options open. Should I keep Martinez, Kane and Mbappe? If not, replace who? I wouldn't keep Martinez, whether that's Lautaro up front or Emi Martinez. I don't know which one, but I'd sell both of them. Kane and Mbappe are fine. Saka, Saliba and Haaland for Bellingham, Rudiger and Mbappe for a -4. Ultimately, I'd say yes. Kopus' team, 2 free transfers. Should I limitless now? I would use the limitless. Yeah, I think it's the best time to use it. I've mentioned this before. For Matchday 11, for the round of 16, we get a 5 million increase to our budget, which makes the limitless less powerful because most people can compete with the limitless users in the knockout stages. You've also got tougher fixtures, whilst in Matchday 7, you've still got some very easy opponents on paper at least. And in Matchday 8, you've got everyone playing at the same time. You can't make subs or change the captaincy. So for me, the best time to use the limitless, if you haven't already, is Matchday 7. Is De Vrij more likely? Yeah, you asked that. I highlighted it. I answered it. Yes, is the answer. Best midfielder and defender, please. Midfielder, probably Bellingham, but it's definitely up in the air. Rafinha is also in the top 3 or 5. Salah this week, but I wouldn't be buying him in. Best defender, I don't think there's a definitive standout, but Rudiger, Kim Min-jae, Gabriel, Timber. Yeah, these are some of the options I'd look at. William Bacho in Matchday 8 looks really good, but he does face City this week. All of that has been covered in my wildcard and limitless videos. You will get the kind of biggest insight from those podcasts. Welcome FPL Cortex, hopefully you're doing well too. Omara says, hello Dylan, my team. Yeah, obviously I get people want to have the kind of whole teams answered, but yeah, just recognize that there's a lot of teams being thrown in. 2 free transfers, 0.3 million in the bank, still have the wildcard, what should I do? I'd consider Haaland to Mbappe or Vinicius, in your case. You could also make a defender transfer like Gvardiol or Hakimi and go to one of the defenders I just mentioned a minute or 2 ago. That's what I'd be looking at in your case. I think you could save the wild card for Matchday 8. Haaland and Saka out for Griezmann and Salah. I would not be buying Griezmann against Bayer Leverkusen. That's a tough game. For those that have Griezmann, you could hold him. I wouldn't be looking to sell him for a -4, but to buy Griezmann, it's up to you, but it's a tough game on paper for me. I'd rather buy Vinicius, Mbappe, Lewandowski even, and the others I've covered, Harry Kane, etc. Should I sell Trent on a wild card for Virgil? I probably would to play it safe. Rafinha, Yamal potentially being dropped. Not sure where you heard that. If you have a link, let me know, but I don't think so. Hansi Flick has not really rotated, and they are second in the table, but if they lose both games coming up, which they could do, by the way, Benfica and Atalanta aren't easy, they drop out of the automatic qualification spot, so I'd be surprised. Foden or a Bayern midfielder? Bayern midfielder. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he had a good start to the season, but I wouldn't be buying Kokchu right now. Best single midfielder for weeks 7 and 8, please. Bellingham. Sell Pulisic or Mittelstadt? Probably Pulisic. There's a chance both of them start, so take that with a pinch of salt. Yeah, I think Mbappe or Vinicius would be an upgrade on Lewandowski. Barcelona, though, have scored the most goals in the Champions League this season, and they have missed a lot of big chances in La Liga. They're creating the opportunities, but Lewandowski, for example, has been quite wasteful. Mbappe, Elise, Lookman in, Lewandowski, Saka, Olmo out with a -4. Is it worth it, and what would you recommend? Yeah, it is worth it for me. The only concern I have is selling Lewandowski, but the rest is absolutely fine. Saka's out for months. Dani Olmo is also an injury doubt. So yeah, I'd take the -4 hit. Other options to consider include Milot from Stuttgart. You might even want to go for Vinicius instead of Mbappe, but we can do this all day, right? We're getting the questions a lot about Kane, Vinicius, Mbappe, etc. Yeah, we'll cover that. Thank you, Sidindra. Lookman or Elise? Slight preference for Lookman, but very, very close. And the downside to it is that Lookman has Barcelona away in Matchday 8, but I don't think that's bad for attackers. It's just not ideal. Let's cover the lineups that are out on the UEFA website. We've got just over an hour left. Plug away at the likes and also the subscriptions and stuff like that. We'll start off with the Atalanta lineups. So Karnasec is in goal. And yes, the main... Wow, so Lookman is not playing. And we've seen that before, by the way. Lookman's on the bench. The guy on the thumbnail, the guy I've been recommending, he is out. or he is on the bench, should we say. So we do have a surprise. It has happened before, but still, you would have expected him to start. But we do have Retegui and De Ketelaere starting up front. So if you do have Lookman, yeah, I mean, basically anything I've said about Lookman up until this point, obviously, we now address this point. I'd rather go for Elise than Lookman. It goes without saying. There is a chance the Frenchman is also benched, but I don't think that'll be the case. Kolasinac is starting, though, for those that have Atalanta defenders. Sabacosta as well. But yeah, that is the biggest news from the early lineups. I'd be surprised if we get something, more shocking than that. As for Monaco versus Aston Villa, Watkins starts yet again. Duran is on the bench. I actually covered Watkins in my Transcripts video that I recorded today, which is available for patrons and channel members. So once the stream is over, be sure to check it out by going to the community tab on YouTube. And that is one of the biggest perks of being a member, gaining early access to my content. But any other changes? Luca Dean for Maatsen over the weekend, that's a change. But Duran is on the bench once again there for Aston Villa. But the biggest shock is Lookman. He is on the bench. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat. We can cover that. And that's certainly very interesting. I did not expect it, but there you go. I'm happy I didn't go for Lookman in the end, I guess. Sell Diaz, if yes, for who? I think Diaz starts, so I probably wouldn't sell him necessarily. It's a good fixture. I was just looking at Kolasinac as he's been attacking, but the graphic has him in the back three. But he has played a lot of games at left centre-back this season, to be fair. So it's not a complete surprise. Yeah, I think Musiala starts. I will not be captaining Lookman. He is on the bench. That's why I love UCL Fantasy more than FPL, says Tommy Raw. Yeah, same here. Even though I'm not having the best of UCL Fantasy seasons, I mean, I typically do better in this game, to be fair, but I think it's just more open-ended, apart from people copying and stuff, because, that happens everywhere. It is more enjoyable. You've got more variety, more options. Even this season where FPL has been better, UCL Fantasy all day long for me. Is Valverde to Elise worth it? Yeah, I think so. The Uruguayan is probably going to play at right back. That's what the reports indicate. Yeah, Lookman on the bench. It's unfortunate. My preference for Atalanta attackers is De Ketelaere, but Retegui's fine. He's not a bad choice, but I'd go for the Belgium. Will Foden start? Yeah. With the form he's in and City's predicament in the Champions League, I'd be shocked if he didn't. Sell Griezmann or Schick? I'd rather sell Schick. Between Retegui and De Ketelaere... Sorry. And yeah, that's been covered already. Fucking hell. And of course, you can make subs in this, unlike the FPL. Yes, I mean, look, some people don't like it, and it does mean you've got to be more involved. For the casuals, they certainly would prefer FPL, for example. I mean, I say casuals, I like, enjoying myself and sometimes just making a pick out of gut instinct rather than looking at data and all this stuff. But yeah, I do think FPL is more for the casuals, although the new chip is probably not really in line with that. So yeah, to replace Lookman on the Limitless, if I go back to my Limitless team, let me go to my Limitless team here. So yeah, for those that are on the Limitless this week, I'd still go for something like this. Raya, Garnasechi, Gabriel, Rudiger, Kolasinac, Dumfries, Van Dijk, Rafinha, Bellingham, Musiala, Salah, and I'd probably go for someone like Milot to replace Lookman. You could even go for a more expensive pick like Foden. Despite the fixture, the form he's in, I think, is worth a punt, so Foden would be the replacement for Lookman in that team. Vinicius, Kane, maybe even Mbappe if you don't triple up with Madrid elsewhere, or you'll go for Lewandowski, Gyökeres, Guirassy. So it's up in the air there, but I've replaced Lookman and Trent basically in this stream. Discuss highlight the replacements for them because I think Trent will be benched, and of course Lookman is not in the lineup as we've just covered now. So yeah, that is the answer to your question. Do you think Pulisic will play tomorrow? I think he does, but it's not a guarantee, mate. Naeem says best Saka replacement, Bellingham. Yeah, Lookman is benched. Thank you to those that pointed me in that direction, and also with the lineups being out. Depends you're selling Lookman to, mate. If it's Bellingham, Musiala, these sorts of options, I think so. But I certainly wouldn't want Lookman now. It's Barcelona away Matchday 8. He's missing a great fixture this week. He might come off the bench and score, but his ceiling will be much lower. Yeah, true. Bellanova is also benched. That's worth mentioning. Yeah, Pulisic is a big doubt. I just saw one lineup because originally this is the reason why Pulisic didn't feature in my videos. I didn't expect him to start, but I saw one lineup today where he was in it. Maybe it's going to be wrong. We'll wait and see. Best Lookman and Saliba replacements. I've been asked this a lot about Saliba replacements. It's difficult for me to say because one, there's no standout, and two, I don't know who you have already, so I might say someone you've already got, but the likes of Kim Min-jae, Rudiger, Gabriel, Van Dijk would be all up there. As for Lookman replacements, also just covered a minute or two ago. Foden on Limitless, for example, would be a great shout. Otherwise, you're looking at Elise, Milot from Stuttgart, even Gittins. Thoughts on Trossard Martinelli for Lookman? It's a great fixture, and Arsenal could score 2 or 3 goals, but I just don't trust that attack. I really don't. Arsenal need 2 or 3 attackers signed now. They've been very lackluster in January, as they usually are. But Trossard and Martinelli, good options for this week. I mean, it's an upgrade on Lookman, who's on the bench, but otherwise, I'd maybe look elsewhere. I'm not sure if I'd take Trent out for a hit. I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I probably would sell Lookman for a hit. Having said that, it's not an ideal situation, but I probably would take the plunge there. Salah or Bellingham? For Matchday 7, it's Salah, but overall, if you're buying one now with Matchday 8 in mind, it's going to be Bellingham. Yeah, I still think Kolasinac is a good option. You know, he's played left centre-back a lot of games this season. It's the ball recoveries he gets and the clean sheets. I could see him getting 8-9 points today. Is Musiala nailed? Yes, he's missed the last couple of games because of a slight concern he had, but he's fine now. Yeah, Kun's a good choice. I haven't highlighted him too much. Celtic assets like Schmeichel in goal, Maeda in the midfield are also good. I don't mind Kun. Yeah, Lookman's not starting. Best 4.8 million and under midfielder, it's going to be Kun from Celtic. Luis Cortez says, should I take a -4 to take Taremi out? Thinking of replacing him with De Ketelaere. Yeah, I like De Ketelaere. I've mentioned him a lot today, and also sparingly or sparsely in my videos over the last couple of days. You could also look at Garassi, Gyökeres. I mean, otherwise we're looking at more expensive options, which will be kind of out of your price range probably. But yeah, De Ketelaere is my favourite Atalanta asset for today. Will Van Dijk and Trent start? Van Dijk, yes. Trent, no. I think Bradley starts. Today, captain Lookman or Rafinha? Lookman's on the bench, mate. We just covered that a few minutes ago. Don't go for Lookman captain unless you think he's going to come off the bench and score a hat-trick like Rashford did against Leipzig a few years ago. Rafinha. Bring in Salah, Musiala or De Ketelaere and Musiala/Salah. Look, buying Salah for this week is fine, but you're probably going to transfer him out for Matchday 8. That's all I'm going to say to you. Out of those options, though, my preference is De Ketelaere and Salah, but it also depends who you're selling, because to bring Musiala in, who are you selling in the midfield? The same goes for the attacker to replace, or that's going to be replaced by De Ketelaere. Thank you for the super chat. Let's get that in there. Haribo, as always. Hi Dylan, weird question. Would you rather play Haaland and Garassi or Vinicius and Alvarez? It's probably going to be Vinicius and Alvarez, but it's a close one. I mean, in an ideal world, it's Vinicius and Garassi, but that's not what you asked me. Yeah, it's going to be Vinicius for me. I think that's what sways me. I'm back in Madrid to win big. They're in decent form, 8 wins out of the last 10 matches. Vinicius had a full rest over the weekend as he was suspended. That would be where my sense at. Yeah, I think that's what I'd stick with. Thank you, Luis. Sell Kimmich or Griezmann? I would sell probably Griezmann. I think Kimmich can still get you ball recovery points, and going from Griezmann to a Madrid attacker or Kane can really work well for you. Salah or Bellingham? For this week, Salah. You have to look a bit further than that, though, for Matchday 8-2. I think Salah will be benched there. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. Saka and Alexandro/David to Elise and Kolasinac/Inter defender or 9.9 million forward. That is a tricky one. I'm probably going to recommend the 9.9 million forward, which will likely be Gyökeres. Arthur says Gyökeres, Griezmann and Pulisic to Vinicius, Rodrigo and Reinders for a -4. I'm not a big fan of selling Gyökeres, to be fair, but I do like the players you're bringing in. My recommendation, Arthur, is to avoid the -4 hit and just do Griezmann to Vinicius. And if you can't afford that, then maybe, well, I think you should, right? By downgrading Pulisic to Reinders. So yeah, I'd buy Vinicius for Griezmann, and I would also consider buying a different budget midfielder than Reinders, and that could be Kun from Celtic or Gittins from Borussia Dortmund. And avoid the -4 hit. Keep Gyökeres. I don't think it's worth selling him to Rodrigo for a hit. Should I take a -4 to take Taremi out? Yeah, I would, Luis. What should I do on Limitless? Check out the Limitless video, and the only changes from that team that I built the other day is Trent out for Van Dijk and Lookman to Foden. Is there a chance if Saka and Saliba play matchday 7 or 8? No. Saka's out for months. Saliba is probably going to miss both matches. He will likely be back for the game after Girona, which will be a couple of days later against Man City, but I just don't see him being risked in matchday 8. Arsenal will likely have him well prepared for that huge clash against Man City, so the answer is no. Lewandowski to Kane -4? No. I like Kane. I think he's a great transfer in, even for a hit, but selling Lewandowski as part of it, probably a no. Decathlari for Lookman on Limitless? Yeah, but Decathlari is a forward in this game, so you'd have to make a few changes. So welcome Napstars, hire Saka and Mittelstadt replacements. 2 free transfers. I have Musiala, Kun, Rafinha, Wirtz, Bacho, Grimaldo, Hernandez, Kim Min-jae. Option 1, Salah and a 4.8 million defender. Option 2, Bellingham and any defender. And the number 3 option is something different. Number 2 looks really good to me. Looking beyond matchday 7, where I do like Salah, Bellingham should start in matchday 8. As for any defender, so I don't know which defenders you have, but Gabriel, Van Dijk, who might be a doubt for matchday 8, of course, depending on Liverpool's result tonight. Dumfries or Bastoni, De Vrij, all good options, of course. But yeah, I'd go for option 2, Bellingham and any defender of your choice. I think those that I just mentioned are really good. Kim Min-jae and Rudiger, also very solid. Thank you for the super chat as well. Let's get this up. Napstars, thank you very much. And obviously we just covered your question there. To think about alternatives, instead of Bellingham, one other thing you could do, to be honest, I think I'd stick with Bellingham, but Foden would cross my mind. Tough fixture this week against PSG, but the form he's in, and he's got Club Brugge in matchday 8, that could be a great transfer for you. So one of Bellingham, Foden, or potentially Milot from Stuttgart would be up there. But yeah, number 2 looks really enticing. Any defender looks also very promising. Let me know which defenders you have without sending another super chat, just a normal message, and we can definitively answer the defender you should buy to replace Mittelstadt. Just bear in mind, though, that he could start this week, and he's got a good fixture tonight. Mbappe or Vinicius? Slight preference for Vinicius, but the suspension risk might sway me the other way. Just to be safe, that's really about it. Yeah, probably Trini. I'll be honest, it's more so UCL Fantasy related in terms of, like, compared to FPL, I think there's more, I don't know, more of a buzz maybe. But as for the Champions League itself, the new format may be something a bit fresh, possibly. You could be onto something there. Emi Martinez or Di Gregorio? I'd go for Greg. I'd go for Di Gregorio there for Juventus. The White Goldfish says, dos mejores defensas para las próximas 2 semanas. Gabriel, Dumfries, Bastoni, De Vrij, Rudiger, Kim Min-jae. Para mí sería Rudiger y Kim Min-jae. Porque con los otros, especialmente los defensores de Inter Milán, hay una posibilidad que van a estar en el banco para la jornada 8. Best replacements for Saka and Inigo Martinez. Kind of similar to what I just said to Napstars. Bellingham is the ideal one to replace Saka. And defensively, you're probably looking at Gabriel or Timber. He'll be up there. Kim Min-jae, Rudiger. Kubarsi or Timber on wildcard? Timber, without a shadow of a doubt. Yamal or Odegaard? Yamal. And sorry, I just said that, so it's very easy to follow. If you check out the Limitless video, only 2 changes. Foden in for Lookman and Van Dijk for Trent. The rest is the same. There's not really a need for me to, go for it again. You think Jimenez starts? No. Haaland and Saka out for Vinicius and Foden or Bellingham? I prefer Bellingham, but Foden is in great form. Not a bad transfer. I just prefer Bellingham. Worth taking a hit to sell Schick, Lookman and Pulisic to the Decathlari. Fucking hell. Bellingham, Musiala, and which 5.8 million midfielder? Bellingham over Musiala for me. And midfielder, it would probably be Gittins. Kun would be another one from Celtic, but yeah, if you don't have Gittins, that is my preference. Kane, Mbappe, and Vinicius good. It's the best front three in the game right now, in my opinion. Gabriel or Kim Min-jae? Gabriel. Yeah, Watkins, nice shout against Monaco. It is a slightly tough game, though. But yeah, I like Watkins. And now looking at it, I do see why Duran was benched, because he is one yellow card away from suspension himself. But not great news for those that have Watkins and FPL, in my opinion. If you can swap Alvarez out for free, I would recommend that, but not for a hit. Yeah, good transfers, Declan. Salah over Musiala for me this week, but Musiala is safer for Matchday 8. And Decatellare is absolutely fine. I've recommended him a lot today, actually. Since Lookman is not an option, which midfield combo should I go for to replace Saka and Tillman? Elise and Millet or Musiala and Gittins? They're both exceptional. They're very, very close to separate them. But I'd go for number 2, Gittins and Musiala. What's the ideal amount of defenders to have for today and how many for tomorrow? In an ideal world, it's 3 today and 2 tomorrow, but don't look too much into that. As long as you've got more Tuesday players, I think the balance is absolutely fine. If you've got more Wednesday, it's not the end of the world. I mean, what you want to avoid is a situation where you've got 3 or less or fewer Tuesday players and the rest play on the Wednesday, because ultimately you really negate the use of substitutions that way and the captaincy. But otherwise, I think in most scenarios, you should be good to go. Alvarez to Leao or Gyökeres to Leao? Alvarez. I'd keep Gyökeres for sure. Rafael's been in decent form. He's not the most consistent when it comes to GA. He never has been. Rafinha or Lewandowski captain tonight? Rafinha. Bellingham over Yamal. Why Salah captain? It's a good fixture against Leo, mate. And also I've got the Wednesday captain to fall back on. And yeah, Salah's not been in good form. But my alternatives, if we kind of break it down, at least with my current 50-man setup, is Jonathan David. No chance. Alvarez, tough opponent. Rafinha. He's an option, to be fair, but I'm looking at the rest. Florian Wirtz facing Atletico Madrid. I'm not going to captain a defender here. I think Salah is kind of the standout Tuesday captain for me, if I'm being honest. Great underlying stats, even in the recent blanks. He's on penalties. Liverpool facing Lille. They're the heavy favourites to win this game. And I don't mind jinxing Salah and Liverpool, to be honest. And my triple up in FPL hopefully does the job. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons why Salah is still a good captain. If I didn't have Salah, I wouldn't be looking to buy him necessarily, because they'll probably rotate in Matchday 8. Good Trent replacements who play on a Tuesday. Van Dijk would be one of them. Yeah, I think the others... Other replacements today. Not a big fan of this pick for Matchday 8, but this week I do like Atalanta options, so Kolasinac, Zappacosta will be absolutely fine. You could take a punt on a Juventus option. Grimaldo is always good, but he does face Atletico Madrid this week. But yeah, it's probably going to be Van Dijk. Yeah, I'm going to stick with one of Van Dijk. Boscagli, potentially. I think PSV defenders are okay for this week, but not great. Yeah, Van Dijk or Kolasinac for me, just to narrow it down. Is Lewandowski to Mbappe or Vinicius worth a -4? I like the players in a lot, but selling Lewandowski for a hit, I'm going to say no. Who's most likely to be benched, Musiala or Elise? Elise, in my opinion, but he has been in brilliant form. Van Dijk, Dumfries, Gabriel, Theo. I need one more. I have good money for WTV. Kolasinac looks pretty good to me. But if you also want someone for Matchday 9, I'd consider Kim Min-jae or Rudiger. I mean, Dumfries has been covered extensively. He was in my best limitless team. Enzo Millet or Yuri Tielemans? Millet. Is Curtis Jones a good option? If he starts, that's not too shabby, but probably not for me. Yeah, Lookman is on the bench. We covered that earlier. I couldn't tell you why he's on the bench, but there we go. I don't think Trent starts. Emi Martinez or Kobel for goalkeeper today? Kobel. Best Real defender besides Rudiger? Raul Asensio at 4 million. Yeah, Rudiger's a good replacement for Saliba. I like that. Raul Patel says, is Lewandowski? Yeah, covered that already, mate. I said no. Up to you if you want to go for it. They're both great transfers in, but selling Lewandowski for it, not for me. Mr. Alex 107 says, Kubarsi, Saliba, Schlotterbeck, Grimaldo, Gvardiol in defence, 0.4 million in the bank, and free transfers. Who should I replace Saliba for? I'd be looking at one of Kim Min-jae or Rudiger, just because you're covering teams that have something to play for, good fixtures, ball recovery potential. Yeah, I think one of those two is absolutely sound. Trent is not... Well, is he in bad form? He was before the Brentford game, but he played very well in that match. It's just they got Conor Bradley there. Hectic January schedule. It's a good opportunity to rest him. Rodgers or Gittins? Close one, but Gittins for me. Yeah, I think Salah starts. It's not a guarantee. I haven't made transfers yet, Adrian. That's why. I'll be buying one of Vinicius or Mbappe today. I'll put a poll out now, actually. Bloody gases. Yeah, I'll make one of those transfers very soon, but not yet. Keep Tillman or transfer for Bellingham. Tillman suspended, and then he faces Liverpool. I'd sell him. Bellingham's a good replacement. Musiala over Diaz for me. Yep. Both good options. Not really. I think if you got Koundé, you could keep him, but I wouldn't be buying in new. Yeah, the Catalari is a good option for Limitless. Despite his cheap price point, I don't mind that. 9 mil left for attack, and who is out of Gyökeres? Yeah, this week Alvarez is not as good as Gyökeres on paper. I'm not going to wildcard now. No, I don't think so. ¿Te gusta Retegui para hoy? Me gusta un poquito, pero te digo la verdad, prefiero a De Ketelare. Y hay otras opciones como Gyökeres. Alvarez to Leao or Gyökeres to Leao? Yeah, I covered your question earlier, mate. I'd rather sell Alvarez. I have made a video already about the best wildcard team, mate. Ya hay un video del wildcard team. No hay muchos cambios de ese video. Si voy ahora, a ver si hay algún cambio o diferencia. Creo que no. Estoy bastante contento con ese equipo. Sí, no hay muchos cambios para hacer. En este momento estoy pensando en poner a Salah como capitán. Nada cambió del Team Selection video que hice ayer. Gittins or Reinders? Gittins. Who would you swap? Haaland or David? I'd rather sell Haaland. Just because he's more expensive, you've got more options to replace him with. I don't mind taking a hit for both, though. Hopefully, Wei Sen. Gittins has been quite poor for me since I've bought him. Best captain today? Salah, Rafinha, Lewandowski would be in the top 5. Salah's my slight preference at number 1. I do like De Ketelare. I think he's right up there too. Best 2 goalkeepers, Raya and Carnesecchi for Matchday 7. You only need 1 for Matchday 8. Best day 1 goalkeeper, Carnesecchi, who plays in just under an hour's time. I have Martinez in goal. The only problem is Mings is also playing. Bit harsh. Do you think Tsimikas starts? I'm not sure about that, to be honest. I'd rather avoid that anyway with Robertson and Tsimikas. They constantly rotate. I'll have a quick look now at the lineup I saw earlier and give you a definitive... Well, just an opinion anyway. I can't give you a definitive answer, to be quite honest with you. So let's see if I can get Liverpool's lineup. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of things to check out. Let's see if I can quickly find it, because I remember seeing it earlier on Twitter. There was one lineup there. I think I'm very close here. So, yeah, one lineup I've seen has Alisson in goal, Bradley, Quansah, Van Dijk, Robertson, Endo, Jones, Salah, Elliott, Chiesa, and Nunez. So no Diaz, no Gakpo, potentially. It's not set in stone, it's a predicted lineup, but that is what I saw earlier today. Elise, Gittins, or De Ketelare for the next 2. Elise and Gittins. Dylan ahora con Lookman out. ¿A quién sugieres? Tengo Rafinha, Verts y Salah. Me gusta Milot de Stuttgart, pero también está Olise de Bayern Múnich. Me gusta mucho. I'm not sure if he's underrated, Looks Master. He's been terrible for me in UCL Fantasy, but he has slowly picked up the pace. Good to see you, Marius. Pulisic to Elise. Schlotterbeck to Kim. Yeah, I like that. I have seen some people in the live chat kind of insinuate that Elise could be benched. I think he's going to start personally, and Bayern Munich have a lot to play for. Good fixtures. There's a lot to like there with those transfers, so I'm on board with it. Would you line up with Rodrigo and Mbappe? I mean, my favourite Madrid attackers are Mbappe, Vinicius and Bellingham, but Rodrigo's fine. At Rodrigo's price and below, I'd be looking at Gyökeres, as I've covered extensively. But if you've got Rodrigo already, you keep, right? You're not going to sell him. I prefer Decathlare over Retegui. Rafinha or Salah on captain? Salah for me. Arnold or Van Dijk? I don't think Trent starts, so that speaks for itself. Wirtz or Bellingham? Bellingham this week. Henry Bush says Rafinha, Wirtz, Gittins and Salah, 8.2 million in the bank. Who to replace Lookman with? Yeah, as I just mentioned a minute or two ago, Miller would be up there from Stuttgart, but I like Elise. Saka replacement, Bellingham. Lamine, Rafinha or Salah captain? Salah, as I just said. Will Alvarez start? Yes, I think so. I'd be surprised if he didn't. Nice one, Diogo. Hopefully you continue and get into the top 100. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I don't know, Decathlare. I guess that's how you say it. I don't get all the pronunciations spot on, as some Swedish people have told me. Thank you, Keith, for moderating the chat. Buy one, Mbappe or Vinicius. I might end up going for Mbappe simply because Vinicius has that suspension risk. If it wasn't for that, I'd be going for Vinicius, but they're both good choices. You can't go wrong. I wouldn't even mind going for both, to be honest. Will you keep Jonathan and Alvarez in attack this week? No. The plan is to sell one of them. Let's actually go into this because otherwise I'll neglect my team. I've been heavily invested in the questions. I've answered pretty much all of them, and we've covered everything you need to know for Matchday 7. If we do get some kind of new questions and comments, I will obviously cover them, but let's put a poll out on this channel and let's see how this is going. So let's get this poll out. Let's do the Mbappe Vinicius one. I think that's a good place to start. Which Real Madrid forward do you prefer? All right, so we'll put Vinicius and Mbappe. Should I put suspension risk in the brackets? It'll probably influence the result, but it is context, isn't it? So we'll put these flags as well. All right. So thank you to those that have been tuning in, but let's get the likes up. It costs nothing, goes a long way to supporting the channel and pushing us up in the algorithm. And subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a single upload or live stream for UCL Fantasy and FPL. Mbappe is leading the vote quite comprehensively, but it's only a few votes in. We've just started it. Let's not get too excited. Insane Gamer says, I feel like Elise will be benched. He started the last 3 for Bayern with Gnabry and Koeman back. Just benched Lookman for Guirassy this week. Yeah, look, ultimately, with the last part of your statement, be very careful about those sort of things. The reason why I say that is because both Guirassy and Lookman play today anyway, right? What you want to do is ensure that everyone who plays on the Tuesday is in your starting 11 and Wednesday players are on your bench, and then you can take off your low-scoring players for those yet to play on the Wednesday. That's the way UCL Fantasy works, just like the World Cup and Euro Fantasy as well. Yeah, I think Liverpool rotates slightly, but still go strong in certain areas. I think Salah will start, Alisson as well, but the likes of Trent, I think, could be on the bench. Elise or Gittins, if you have to pick one to enter for Lookman. My preference is Elise, but he is a slightly, how do I say this, maybe a bigger rotation risk than Gittins. Konate not playing? I don't think so. And if you looked at his comments recently, over the coming days, or over the last few days, he said something to the extent of, and I'm paraphrasing here, he's been on painkillers since he's come back from injury, and it's like a cry for help, right, you could say. But ultimately, it's a good time to rest. Quansah's available. They can play Van Dijk. I think Konate won't start. Keep Haaland or sell to Kane? I'd sell to Kane, if you can. Mbappe or Haaland? Mbappe. Kolasinac captain today? I'm not against that, to be quite honest with you. He can get 8 points. Manchester United says, So annoying. All the conflicted reports. Half say Pulisic and Trent are playing. Yeah, exactly that. You're going to get conflicting reports. I personally think, if I had to say now, I think both of them won't start. I could be wrong about that, though. It's just my opinion, and ultimately, I've only seen a handful of reports for both, but the lineup I saw earlier from AC Milan did have Pulisic in it. I still think he'll be benched. Let's see what happens. 5 players enough for Tuesday. It's not ideal, but it'll do right. You know, ideally you'd have at least 7, at least, and the preference is always to have more Tuesday than Wednesday, but I wouldn't be taking hits now to rectify that. Entre capitán, ¿a quién pones? Rafinha o Salah? Y ya puedes ver en la pantalla, para mí es Salah. Eliseo Musiala? Musiala. Iñaki Peña or Benitez? Don't want to hit -4 for goalkeeper. Benitez. But, yeah. I agree with you. I wouldn't take a hit for a goalkeeper. Doku out of the team. Stones back in, says Chase. I appreciate the update. I think Musiala will play. I'm not playing Limitless myself, but if you got it, I'd highly recommend deploying it now. Try to do it soon, though. Don't make last-minute decisions with the Limitless. It's a recipe for disaster. So this vote is more one-sided than I thought. Maybe the brackets kind of settled it for a lot of people. But Mbappe with 64% of the vote and Vinicius with 36%. Best 6.4 million mid is between Gittins and Millet for me. Kun would also be up there, but yeah, that would be my answer to your question. Sell Haaland and Lookman for Salah and Atalanta attacker. Yeah, looks good to me. Decathlare would be my preference up front, but it leaves you with a lot of money in the bank. A lot. And to be fair, you could also do something like maybe going for a similarly priced midfielder and then going for Mbappe or Vinicius up front, maybe even Harry Kane, but that's team dependent. Best differential picks, Millet from Stuttgart, one of Maeda or Kun in the Celtic midfield. I think Maeda is more of a differential. I'd also be looking at Decathlare, who I've talked about a lot today. Retegi's also fine. Atalanta defenders, a double up there is also on the cards. Trent has to play. I transferred him in for Saliba yesterday. Look, for your sake, I hope he does, but I personally think he's benched. I could be wrong about this. Like I said before, take my opinion with a pinch of salt. I have no inside information on this. It's just based on the lineups I've seen and the reports, I've just made an opinion, and that's what I've come up with. Musiala or Kane? Kane. Davis or Dumfries? Dumfries. Captain Salah, Alvarez, Rafinha? Salah. Would you take a -4 for Lewandowski to Mbappe? Probably not. Gabriel, Dumfries? Gabriel. Is Saka, Saliba, and... What? Saka, Saliba, and who? To Gittins, Mbappe, and Raul Asensio, a good move. Saibari, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know the second name. Yeah, the transfers in are fine. I'm on board with that. Haaland out for Mbappe for a -4. I'd actually do it, yeah. In this case, I would. Rafinha, Wirtz or Gittins captain? Rafinha. Asensio or Sappacosta? Sappacosta. Griezmann for Gyökeres? Sorry, I might be misunderstanding. Are you buying Griezmann or are you selling him? Either way, I prefer Gyökeres, so that is my preference. Not for a hit, but for free, I think that's an upgrade. Let me double check some things on Twitter, though. Give me a second, just to see if there's any new updates. I'm getting some weird comments here. Yeah, okay. I saw someone earlier say Gyökeres is injured, and I never saw that on Twitter. If you do see something, though, let me know. I hope Slot plays the big boys, then subs them off if leading. I don't, since I've actually made some early transfers in FPL. Thank you, Napstars, for the super chat. My defense is Bacho, Grimaldo, Hernandez, Kim Min-jae. Best 5.8 million defender to replace Mittelstadt. Plays today. Captain, Rafinha or Wirtz. I would go for Rafinha captain simply for the fixture, but football is not played on paper, and sometimes you just get a massive haul irrespective of the fixture difficulty. But Rafinha is my preference. And as for your first question, it is a close one. I would consider Rudiger or even Raul Asensio, but that's kind of a transfer waiting to happen potentially. You'd rather buy a defender who's kind of settled for matchday 7 and 8 if possible. But remember, you only need 11 starting players for the final matchday of the league phase because you can't make subs. Everyone plays at the same time. I would be looking at Gabriel still as a 5.8 million defender to replace Mittelstadt. But that's a personal opinion of mine. Maybe I'm a bit too bullish on Arsenal defensively. I don't even know why. They have been quite shaky recently, but that would be my current preference. Chesney starting says Ghost. Yeah. Either way, I kind of made my mind up on that. I would have rather start the PSV goalkeeper Benitez. FPL Lauren says Jude, Odegaard, Mo, and Rafinha need one more mid. I would consider Musiala or Elise, who is a slight risk you could actually argue. Maybe both of them are. But yeah, with Lookman out of the picture, or at least on the bench, yeah, it just depends which price tag we're talking about here. I like Milot from Stuttgart, also Gittins, Kun or Maeda from Celtic. But if money is no issue, I will be looking at one of Foden or Musiala. When to use the Limitless and Wildcard? In most scenarios, I would Limitless now and Wildcard in Matchday 8. Thank you, Arania, for the super chat as well. My 15, Di Gregorio, Blazwich, Kubarsi, Schlotterbeck, Grimaldo, Theo, Inacio, Rafinha, Wirtz, Gittins, Diaz, Salah, David, Lewandowski, Haaland. 2 free transfers, 0.5 million in the bank. Moves, thinking of David and Diaz out, but for who? I get that. Yeah, Diaz could be benched, to be fair, and I get that sort of problem. I thought he would start, actually, before seeing that lineup earlier, which I read out, which had Chiesa, Nunez, and Salah as the front three. So in this case, I would be looking at David out for Gyökeres, which might seem a bit boring. But maybe one alternative, you've only got 0.5 in the bank, which makes it maybe difficult. Because I would actually recommend even a -4 hit. You might not want to do this, but Haaland out for Mbappe or Vinicius, then getting Gyökeres in for David, and in the midfield to replace Diaz. I haven't done the exact calculations, but you might... Nah, I think you can't go up to Bellingham in this case, but Rafinha, Wirtz, Salah. I'd be looking at one of Milot or Elise. There is a slight risk of Elise, so take that in mind. If you do go for a buy midfielder like Musiala or Elise, you could find rotation, but still a nice shout for me, Elise. I think he'll start. And if not, Milot is really enticing for me. Gittins is absolutely fine. Of course, you've got him already. The other ones would be Maeda and Kun, who I'm quite appealed by for the next 2 fixtures. On top of that Gyökeres transfer for David, I'd also consider Haaland to Mbappe or Vinicius Jr. Rodrigo Bellingham on a wild card? Bellingham. Would you take Lookman out for a -4 hit? Yeah, I would. Got Lewandowski, Haaland and Alvarez. Which one to sell? No need for the caps. But out of those 3, Haaland would be the one to sell. Kolasinac or Kim Min-jae? Kolasinac this week. If I'm buying one now, though, I think Kim Min-jae is safer because in Matchday 8, less chance of rotation and a better fixture because Atalanta are away to Barcelona. You'd expect them to concede there. Yeah, thank you, Keith, for moderating the chat. So, yeah, if you do stuff like that, you know the drill by now. Just be patient. You'll have your questions and comments answered, and we'll keep things civil here. Welcome, Dave. You know Dylan is awesome when you have a former FPL winner in the chat asking for his advice. Where is that? Point me in the direction, because I might have missed it, actually. But I do appreciate those that tune in. In FPL right now, actually, I believe the top 2 in my mini-league are 5th and 7th in the world. So, yeah, hopefully we do get the winner of FPL in the league, because it's not going to be me with my recent transfers. But I appreciate that. Who to take for Saka? Bellingham, but it's team dependent, mate. You might have free Madrid already, or you don't have enough budget with your other moves in mind, but Bellingham. Kolasinac versus Zappacosta, not much in it, but Kolasinac is a slight preference. Zappacosta is playing further forward, though. Hola, Dylan. Tengo a Rafinha, Salah y Wirtz. ¿A quién sugieres en el mediocampo? Foden, Musiala, Olise, Milot de Stuttgart, me gusta mucho. Gittins, Kun, Maeda, ambos de Celtic. Si tuviera que elegir 2, iría por Gittins y Bellingham. Me gusta mucho Bellingham. What do you think? Lewandowski out for a -4 for Decatelare. I would not be selling Lewandowski for a hit. I've used my Limitless already, so I can't use it. I've got the wild card available. Is Lewis Skelly not in the game? Yeah, I don't think so, because he's just kind of burst onto the scene, really. for Arsenal. He was actually in the squad earlier this season. He got booked before even making his Premier League debut against Man City. But in UCL Fantasy terms, he's only a real factor now. Aranya says, is Haaland out for a -4 really worth it? I think so. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that. And against Club Brugge at home in Matchday 8, I think he's a great option. But for this Matchday specifically, moving him to Mbappe, Vinicius or Harry Kane, I think could prove to be useful. It's not a necessary transfer though, and I think ultimately you should really focus on the two you mentioned in the midfield with Diaz and potentially Jonathan David. Odegaard for Limitless on penalties. Yeah, but he's got one goal all season, which is from a penalty. I wouldn't go for Odegaard right now. It's a great fixture. So if you want to take a punt on Arsenal, you know, Trossard, Martinelli, Odegaard are fine, even Kai Havertz, but Arsenal are pretty much down to the bare bones right now, especially offensively. They should have signed strikers and forwards in the summer, even before that, but they've just been really inactive and a lack of ambition. These players are being overplayed, and ultimately they're kind of running quite low on energy. I'm not a big fan of Arsenal attackers. Just joined. Any plans on using a chip? Not this week, no. I haven't used any transfers yet. I'll probably do something similar to what I discussed in my team selection video. That is the current plan. I would sell Haaland personally, Bruce Wayne, but in Matchday 8, he's a great option against Club Brugge, of course. Thank you very much, Hind. I appreciate the kind words. Gyökeres or Havertz? It would be Gyökeres. Havertz is a good option against Dynamo Zagreb, and he started this season quite well, but he's one of those players who had a very small preseason. He's being overplayed, and in recent games, he has missed some big chances. He scored a good goal against Aston Villa, but he also, I don't think, played particularly well. Saka, Saliba and Haaland for Bellingham, Rudiger and Mbappe for a -4, or choose players from different teams like Musiala, Kim or Kane. I like that -4 hit, but I would consider replacing one of those players with a Bayern Munich asset. You don't need to go triple Bayern or triple Madrid. You can vary between those two teams, but yeah, my preference would be Kim Min-jae, Bellingham and Mbappe with Matchday 7 and 8 in mind. ¿Vas a vender a Saliba? Es posible que no. Y voy a vender a Jonathan David y Erling Haaland en este caso, pero no está confirmado todavía. Pau Torres out for Gabriel and a -4. Not a huge fan of a -4 hit for a defender, but I think that's decent. It's not a terrible hit. Lamine or Rafinha? As I've said all season, Rafinha for me. Lewandowski to Mbappe and Trent replacements. I'd do Lewandowski to Mbappe for free, pause, but not for a hit. Trent replacements, I think Van Dijk is a nice like-for-like replacement. You've also got Gabriel, Timber, Dumfries, De Vrij, Rudiger, Kim Min-jae. Those are the options I'd look at, but it's also important to have a decent setup and foundation for Matchday 8. So in that case, you probably just stick with Rudiger or Kim Min-jae. Maignan instead of Alisson. I'm not sure if Alisson will be benched. I did mention it as a possibility in my team selection video, but it's not a guarantee. Mbappe, says Julian. Yeah, I like Mbappe a lot. And actually, let me just double check this. I'm going to double check this Liverpool lineup and see if Alisson's expected to start again. I think I read it out earlier. Yeah, Alisson is expected to start, so I'm quite happy keeping him there. For now, it will be a major blow, though, if he is benched and I can't make the sub to bring on Di Gregorio, especially if he keeps a clean sheet. So that is a risk I'm maybe willing to take, I guess. I'm going to see... Yeah, I'm going to surf the web now, very quickly, hopefully, and see if I can get another Liverpool predicted lineup and see what they're going for against Lille tonight. So another one they've gone for has Alisson in goal again, Bradley, Endo, Van Dijk, Robertson, Gravenberch, McAllister, Salah, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, Nunez. That's another one. The other lineup I saw didn't have Gakpo in there, for example. But yeah, haven't seen any Kelleher starting news or predictions. Out of those options, mate, as you can see on screen, I'm going for Salah as my captain, and it'd stay the same if Lewandowski was there. Elise or Kimmich? Elise, but admittedly, he's more of a rotation risk. I have Musiala and Elise. Should I sell one of them to get Kim Min-jae and a Bellingham Mbappe? Not so sure. I mean, especially if that involves a hit, I'd rather avoid that. I'd probably keep what you have. I think playing the Limitless is worth it, but it's team dependent. If you've got a really good squad and you feel like you don't need to play it, then don't. But in terms of fixtures, budget, and other circumstances and factors which I covered in today's stream, I think Matchday 7 is the best time to use the Limitless if you haven't used it already. PSG have kept only one clean sheet in the past entire month across all competitions. Yeah, City could do well against them, that's true. It's just Haaland's been kind of off it in my opinion, and you're selling him to Mbappe, Vinicius, who have great fixtures, or a great fixture, and they're in great form themselves. Harry Kane, the same thing. But I get your point. In my kind of team, and I'm going to put a poll out very soon, I can understand why some of you might recommend selling Saliba instead and just focusing on getting a 50-man squad out there. But Haaland's been quite disappointing for me, and going without Madrid attackers doesn't sit right with me. And that's one of the main benefits of wildcarding or limitlessing this week, or just replacing Haaland. Saka and Saliba replacement, Bellingham, and I'd say one of Rudiger or Kim Min-jae. Bellingham in for a hit, advisable. Depends who you sell. Not a big fan of hits in this game, but I like Bellingham. Welcome Adster, Rafinha or Wirtz as a transfer in this week. It would be Rafinha. I like Wirtz a lot. He's arguably better than Rafinha. Sorry, he's arguably better than... Yeah, he's arguably better than Rafinha, but at the same time, it's Atletico Madrid this week. Kim Min-jae or Gabriel in for Saliba, and why? Arguably Kim Min-jae because he's got a better Matchday 8 fixture. He should start both matches, whilst with Gabriel, there's a slight chance he's benched against Girona next week, especially if Arsenal win tonight, or tomorrow. For Limitless, I'd rather go for Vinicius over Mbappe, but on the wild card or a free transfer, it might just be safer to avoid the suspension risk and stick with Mbappe. But yeah, for your question, it's going to be Vinicius slightly. So yeah, I'm going to start focusing on my team since I've answered dozens, hundreds, I don't even know, maybe thousands is stretching it, but a lot of questions here and comments. We'll go back to some of them very soon. Jimenez is not expected to start Petros. No, I covered their lineup earlier. It's a prediction. It might be wrong, but it should be, I think, Lenglet and Lenormand at centre-half. So yeah, let's end this poll. Mbappe's won quite comprehensively, 64%. Drop a like if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel. That would be massively appreciated. I'm going to put another poll out now and start locking in my transfers because I really want to avoid a last-minute move, which I tend to do on UCL Fantasy, and it's not something I recommend to people watching. So let's put this out here, and let's see if I've got enough characters to make this possible. So let's put Saliba. We'll put Haaland and David to Mbappe, let's say. Mbappe and... I don't have enough characters. I bloody don't. Yeah, -1. Alright, so we'll do this instead. Hopefully YouTube changes one day. The other option is to sell Saliba and David. And then in terms of a defender, Rudiger, I guess. I'm not a big fan of some of these defenders, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, Rudiger, Dumfries, Bastoni, De Vrij. They would all spring to mind for me. Yeah, just not really infused with those options. Maybe Gabriel in my case. I'll put Gabriel for now. Although I'm not particularly pleased with that. And let's actually go to the transfer section and see. So this is what I'm talking about. So I could do something like this, buy Vinicius and Van Dijk. That's another option at my disposal. And I could also do that and avoid the Alisson risk in terms of starting and just start Di Gregorio. That's something else I could do. But it does maybe cause some problems for Matchday 8, where Boskagli faces Liverpool. Van Dijk might be rotated. Grimaldo's fine, I guess. Kim Min-jae too, but Kubarsi, maybe not so much. So let's see if I can put all these options here. Let's put Van Dijk. Rudiger. Let's put Gabriel in there as well. Gabriel. And the last option will be -4 hit. Or let's put Mbappe, Gyökeres, and defender. Alright, so let me know what you think in the live chat. But why does that look different? That's just weird. It's very strange. Right, we'll make that consistent. Thank you to those that moderate the chat. Let's get the likes up. Our aim is to get this to over 300 now, and also subscribe to the channel, check all the links, all that usual stuff. Would you bring Wirtz or Rafinha? Yeah, covered that. Limitless for playoff round? Not for me. That could be an option that we'll talk about very soon, but I still am quite insistent Matchday 7 for me is the best time to use it. DeMarco benched as usual? No, in fact, he's actually expected to start, which I covered in the segment earlier. Sky Sport Italia are very reliable when it comes to predicting Inter Milan, and it looks like DeMarco starts. Musiala or Gittins? Musiala for me, although he's a bigger rotation risk for Matchday 7. The plan at the moment is to wildcard in Matchday 8, but it's not set in stone. Garassi or De Ketelaere, says Sydney. De Ketelaere for this week. For both match days combined and just having a set and forget forward, Garassi's probably better, but it's all circumstantial. If you're wildcarding in match day 8, I'd go for De Ketelaere. Best replacement for Saliba? I'm not entirely convinced about this. I mean, for my own team, I'm looking at Rudiger, Van Dijk, Gabriel. But yeah, it's probably going to be one of Rudiger or Kim Min-jae for a lot of people. So a lot of people saying -4 hit from Mbappe, Gyökeres and defender. Just bear in mind, the -4 hit means selling Haaland. But if you still feel that way, let me know. It is very close between that and buying Mbappe and Gyökeres, which is what my original plan was. But yeah, I'll make a late decision, I guess. Why is Sane not being talked about? It's just he's not been the same over the last year. I used to be a massive Leroy Sane advocate on this channel in UCL Fantasy. He got consistent goal contributions for Bayern Munich. It just hasn't been the case since last season. He could be a good option for the next 2 match days, but a bit unreliable. I think Musiala and Elise are better. I think Trent will be benched. That's what I've seen with the lineups, pretty much in every single one of them. Yeah, Elise or Gittins. I'd go for Elise, but he's a bigger risk to start. Take that with a pinch of salt. Dylan, don't sell Haaland. He got too much to play for, and City's in form. Yeah, true. And he's also got Club Brugge at home in matchday 8. But the problem with that is it means no Mbappe, Vinicius, or Kane for matchday 7. I could maybe find a way to do it in matchday 8, but it will be more difficult. So if we then look at this alternative thing, so keeping Saliba, buying Mbappe or Vinicius as well as Gyökeres, that looks fairly solid, but it does mean selling Erling Haaland. Let's see if I can find a way to keep Haaland whilst buying Vinicius or Mbappe. Let's see if I can do that. So Vinicius is slightly cheaper, isn't he? Yeah, Mbappe is really... No, Mbappe is cheaper. Okay, interesting. Got my prices confused there. Then I could go to a 4-point premium defender. And I could do something like this. Raul Asensio. Let me know what you think about this. I don't know. It's just something I come up with. Not great for matchday 8. Because Raul Asensio might not even start by then. But the reports indicate he's starting tonight. I keep saying tonight. Tomorrow, in this case. He's starting tomorrow. Grimaldo, Kim Min-jae could make a defender transfer for matchday 8. And to be fair, I might just wildcard anyway for that matchday. But that looks fairly solid. I keep Haaland. I've still got Alvarez, which isn't great. But I've got a solid midfield for the most part. Yeah, that looks not too shabby. But yeah, in the live chat, just say yes or no. What you think. Sell Watkins. I don't think he's a sell necessarily. Decent fixture against Monaco, not the best. Yeah, PSG are a little bit worse this season, but they are at home. Great atmosphere. And before the last couple of games, I mean, I know that 6-0 against Ipswich Town has swayed our opinions, but Man City are still not fully there yet. Maybe they're getting very close, though. Your only focus should be who has got something to play for, so no Liverpool players in, for example. Yeah, you're right. That's why I avoided putting Van Dijk in for the poll, for example. Why Gyökeres? He's facing teams that are 33rd and 34th in the league table. Sporting are 17th. They've got something to play for. And Gyökeres is in good form. Even Sporting have improved recently, so there's a lot of reasons why. Lookman on the bench really ruined my plans. Welcome to UCL Fantasy and fantasy football in general. People saying yes in the live chat. Yeah, it's probably time for a new poll. But I want to put a captaincy-related poll for the Tuesday at least to help people determine. I've got a lot of Salah versus Wirtz and all this stuff kind of questions. But ultimately, Haaland and David to Mbappe and Gyökeres is winning this vote. And in second is the -4 hit option for Mbappe, Gyökeres and a defender. But let's actually see what you lot think now of this Raul Asensio or just a cheap option here. And by the way, it's a bit of a shame. I'm so close of you know, doing something like this, buying Timber. 0.1 off. Maybe instead, what, do I go for Harry Kane? I can afford that. I mean, look, there's a few options I've suddenly come up with which haven't really, you know, come across my mind in the last couple of days. But let's, I'm going to lock in my team fairly soon. I'd say next, well, definitely next 20 minutes, otherwise I'm screwed. Next 15 minutes is the plan. Before I put this poll out, let's go through the latest super chat, and one more will mean a slightly longer live stream. So yeah, 1298 says, keep Sima or sell to Retegi, Decathlare for a -4. That is a great question. That is very, very close. Sima started the season very well, and he is facing Shakhtar today, away from home. I think I'd keep Sima, but he has been underwhelming recently. He missed a game against Sparta Prague, 1-pointers against PSV and Barcelona. That is, yeah, his minutes are a bit all over the place. That's my concern. You know what? I'd actually take the hit for Decathlare. My only concern with that is that he faces Barcelona away in Matchday 8, but then Sima faces Real Madrid, so you probably want to sell him regardless. I take the hit and go for Decathlare. Let me know your thoughts. Difficult one with Sima. It's kind of weird to see that downfall. He started so well, but hasn't been the case recently. So yeah, let's put this poll out. Let's see what you lot think. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. And yeah, I want to put a captaincy related one because a lot of you have been asking, and it will help a lot of you with your conundrums. So let's put this out there. Yeah, Lookman's not starting. That's been covered already with the early lineups. I might have another look through them just for those that are new. The other kind of surprise maybe is Bellanova for Atalanta being benched, and for Atletico Madrid, they're not playing yet. For Aston Villa, Duran's benched. But yeah, pretty much what you'd expect for Aston Villa. All right. Yeah, Yildiz is doubtful because he's got a slight injury problem. He's going to be rested for the weekend, it looks like. That's what the reports indicate. So that's in relation to Yildiz. So let's get this straight. So Timber and Kane. Let's see. So David, Saliba and David to Timber and Kane. And then the other one would be Saliba to Raul Asensio and Mbappe. Just enough. Don't tell me I don't have enough. Ah, here we go. Okay. The other option, yeah, I'm still entertaining the Haaland thing. I'm not going to lie. I'm still entertaining it. He could still be on the chopping block for me. So this would be Mbappe and Gyökeres. Yeah, I mean, that's still a possibility for me. -4 here, I'd rather avoid, to be honest, so I think I'm sticking with 2 free transfers, and these will be my final transfer plans. Pretty much, yeah. The other one would be... yeah, I think Saliba and David, and then going to, let's say, Gabriel and Gyökeres here as well. So that is the poll. Yeah, I think Salah starts. That's been covered to death today. It's not a guarantee. I don't think anything is with Liverpool now. But yeah, I'd be surprised if he doesn't start. Trent, though, I think will be benched. I think Conor Bradley starts. Hopefully Alisson gets the nod, and that's what all the reports indicate. Let's whiz through these last few questions, though. Be sure to vote in the poll, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check all the links, all that good stuff. Thank you to the super chatters, patrons, channel members, and also to those that gifted memberships in the recent live streams. That is massively appreciated, to say the least. Captain Darwizzy, good luck. Wow, good luck to you. Darwizzy. Gyökeres or Lewandowski? This week, Gyökeres, but Lewandowski is always a good option. Rudiger or Kim Min-jae for the final 2 matches? Probably Kim Min-jae. Feyenoord away is slightly tough, to be fair. Mbappe, Vinicius or Kane? I think on a Limulus it's Vinicius, but with the suspension risk in mind and looking at Matchday 8, my answer would be Mbappe. That is the definitive answers to those questions. Lookman, Gittins, best this week. Lookman's benched, so it's going to be Gittins. Best captain for today, Salah if he starts, which I think will be the case. Top 3 attackers for Limitless. Mbappe. I mean, I have covered this already, by the way, in my Limitless video. But yeah, Mbappe, Harry Kane, and then one of Vinicius or Lewandowski would be where my head's at. Yeah, Lewandowski. Lewandowski over Gyökeres, yeah, slightly above. It's just, there's a question of budget as well that has to be factored in when buying these players. But on Limitless, of course, that's not the case. Yeah, Mittelstadt is available. He has been on the bench recently. It's just he hasn't started those games, so there's a big concern there. Thank you, Sheriff. Hi, mate. Bellingham, Alvarez, Rudiger, or Vinicius, Mbappe, Gvardiol, and a 6.6 mid. And who? Got Gittins, Kimmich. Thank you. Thank you as well for the super chat and the good question. It's a difficult one to ponder. So if you're looking at 6.6 midfielders, I'd recommend Milot. You've already got Gittins, that's fine. Maybe Maeda, although I think he might be slightly above that threshold. I need to double check that. Kun from Celtic is also fairly decent. But I think my favourite would be Milot from Stuttgart. Yeah, out of the options you've discussed, yeah, I think my favourite is going to be Vinicius / Mbappe and Gvardiol. And then a 6.6 mid, I'd go for Milot personally. Hopefully that helps you. All the best of luck for this match day. Captain Rafinha Salah, you can see the answer on screen, mate. And I've covered that to death, really. Thank you, Dave, as well. Any Morata news? He has been back in training. There's no guarantee he starts, but yeah, he's in the fold. He's in contention. I'd be looking to sell him, though. Now, that is dependent, of course. If you've got other fires to put out, you might be able to keep him and give him a chance, but he is Morata. I'm Captain Lewandowski. Not a bad choice at all. Good luck. So Salah is reportedly going to start, according to the lineups I've seen. They are predictions, though. And Trent isn't back to start. It looks like Connor Bradley will be the right back. Martinelli or Trossard? Well, Martinelli has 3 goals in 4 games since Saka got injured, whilst Trossard got a brace of assists against Aston Villa last game and played very well, and also got the goal against Spurs. I would have a slight preference for Trossard, but they're both good options, I think, on paper. But Arsenal are quite unreliable in front of goal. It would not surprise me if they struggle to score against Dynamo Zagreb. Lookman to Arsenal mid for a hit. Yeah, probably stick with Trossard there. It's risky if you go for an Arsenal attacker. I'd actually rather go for their defenders, which has been the case all season, with the exception of Saka, of course, before his injury. I think Elise starts, but some reports indicate he will be benched. Rafinha or Musiala for next 2 match days? Musiala, more to play for. Better fixtures, arguably, with Bratislava at home. Which midfielders for a hit? Because of Lookman. Milot, which I covered earlier. One of Maeda or Kun are decent, although I'd prioritise Foden, Bellingham, and all these other options. My favourite is Bellingham. If you can't go to him, I'd stick with one of Elise or Milot. Mbappe captain by chance? Tomorrow, yes. You don't need to captain him now. You captain a Tuesday player first, and if he blanks or doesn't return as well as you would have hoped, you then switch to captaincy and make substitutions as well. Iñaki Peña or Di Gregorio? I'd go for Greg from Succession. Di Gregorio is probably the better one. Limitless or wildcard this game week? Limitless, in my opinion. It's team dependent, but for most people, I'd recommend Limitless Matchday 7, wildcard in Matchday 8, or you even save it for later in the competition. I think Mittelstadt will start, yeah, but it's not a guarantee. Gabriel over Koundé for me. So right now, the Timber and, well, as soon as I say that, it's gone down the other way. It's neck and neck between Gyökeres and Mbappe versus Timber and Kane. Yeah, I mean, very, very interesting. It's just Mbappe looks very enticing for this week, I'm not going to lie. But so does Kane. He looks really impressive. Lookman's bench Mohamed. That's why people are looking to sell. The lineups are out already for the 5:45 PM UK time kickoffs. They have been covered already. Yeah, but that's a FootMob lineup prediction. I think SofaScore have Salah in the lineup, and I don't really look at those for lineups. I sometimes have a glance, but they don't really give you too much context. Like if I go to SofaScore now and see what they put, I think Salah's in there, but they'll probably put Trent in there as well, and that's not entirely reliable. Rodgers or Kun? Kun for me. I don't think Koundé's better than Gabriel, but I respect your opinion. Koundé's arguably better for ball recoveries. But facing Benfica and Atalanta, as bad as Arsenal have been recently, Barcelona have been quite shaky themselves, and I don't think they're better defensively. Hi Dylan, will Guerrero start for Bayern Munich? I'm not so sure about that, to be fair. But yeah, look at this Liverpool lineup, for example. They put Salah, Jones, Gakpo, Darwin, Trent. This is a SofaScore, by the way. Not the most reliable of these sites when it comes to predictions. Take with a pinch of salt. Where Lookman's bench, he usually comes on the 46th minute. Yeah, like, if I had Lookman, I'd try to avoid a -4 hit if possible, but there are certain midfielders I think that are worth a punt, which I've covered already. Yeah, from those options, it's still Salah for me, but if you want to go Rafinha, Lewandowski, I don't blame you. Barcelona are the top scorers of this season's Champions League so far. Sell Lewandowski or Haaland for Mbappe. I'd rather sell Haaland, but you might want him back for Matchday 8. Likewise, Bose. Will Koundé start? I think Koundé starts, yeah. Koundé or Kubarsi? Koundé, but there is a big difference in price. Watkins or Limitless? Not a bad option. He's not my favourite, though, so my answer will be no. He's a decent choice, though. Let's put it that way. So yeah, this is one of the closest polls I've put out in a while, and there have been plenty. So Gyökeres and Mbappe in for Haaland and David is slightly leading, but Timber and Kane is still up there. I'm going to check one Arsenal predicted lineup and see if Timber is in it. I mean, it's not like Arsenal have many choices at the moment, right? But let's see if Timber is expected to start. If he is, according to a reliable source, I might just take the plunge and go for Timber and Mbappe. And Timber and Kane, actually. So yeah, this lineup that I've seen here has Raya, Partey, Kivior, Gabriel, Tierney, Odegaard, Jorginho, Marino, Sterling, Havertz, and Trossard. Yeah, I mean, there is a slight chance Timber is rotated, to be fair. I wouldn't be surprised. So it is slightly risky going for it. I do like getting Harry Kane, but yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, the alternative is buying Raul Asensio, who is really heavily back to start, as well as Kane, but I'd rather go for Mbappe this week over the Bayern Munich talisman. I'll go for my predictions again very soon, but they have been covered already. I prefer Raul Asensio over Fran Garcia, but that's because I know for sure, or at least I'm very confident he'll start. Gittins, Olise, or Milot. My favourite is Olise. Having said that, I think they're all good options. They really are. Olise or Kimmich best this week? Olise. Slight chance of rotation, but he's worth the risk. Of course, for a hit, it's a bit different, you could say. But let's lock this in. I'm going to buy one of Mbappe or Vinicius, and I think Mbappe is going to be the one for me, despite a poor UCL Fantasy campaign so far. It's about time he gets things going. He's in fantastic form with a brace over the weekend. He is second in line for penalties, though. Ancelotti said that Vinicius is first, so that could still sway this decision the other way. And I think Raul Asensio as a short punt could be very decent. Yeah, I think I butchered the name on the poll for Raul Asensio. Yeah, I think autocorrect happened there. But he hasn't started at all this season. It might seem a bit strange. I mean, I still got... Wait, what am I doing? I wouldn't be selling Haaland in that case. I'd be selling Jonathan David, you absolute numpty. Yeah, so let's get Mbappe in here. So we've got 5 minutes left. I'm going to lock it in now, trust me. But don't copy if you can. Is anyone going to listen? Is it falling through deaf ears? Probably not. Decatelari or Retegui and why? I prefer Decatelari. I think he's been more consistent, bigger hauls. I mean, I don't know how much more you need. I've covered this in detail already, so I don't want to tread through, familiar ground, if that's the saying. Guirassy or Lewandowski on Limitless? Lewandowski. Borussia Dortmund have been quite shaky recently. Best defenders for the next 2 match days, I'd look at Bayern Munich and Real Madrid from that perspective. Good fixtures, something to play for. 2 teams with a lot of pedigree. Thank you, Clemmy, or Clem. Hopefully I haven't butchered that. I have no Madrid players. I mean, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. I think Salah does play Valentin. Which of the 2 should I go for from these 3? Mbappe and Vinicius if you can. Lewandowski's absolutely fine though. Bellingham or Olise? Bellingham. Best replacement for Saka? Bellingham. Pavard and De Vrij or Rudiger and Raul Asensio? Why not one of each would be my answer. So De Vrij and Pavard. De Vrij and Rudiger. would be pretty decent, actually. Garassi or Lewandowski on Limitless, yeah, covered. Trossard's a decent option, but Arsenal have been quite blunt in the attack. He's in good form, though, in the last 2 games. Thank you, Valentin. Best midfielders to target on a Limitless. So basically from that video, the only change I'd make is Lookman to Foden. But there's also Milot from Stuttgart, Maeda or Kun from Celtic. There's plenty of others, but yeah, it'd be something like Foden, Rafinha, Salah for this week, Bellingham. It's all covered in that video. So yeah, let me make these transfers now. Hopefully I don't regret this Mbappe versus Vinicius sort of transfer, but probably will. Yeah, Raul Asensio is starting according to reports I've seen. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone for it myself. Yeah, Foden should start, mate. City have a lot to play for. Tough game, and he's in great form himself. I think Salah's the best captain. Hugo Cipriano. Yeah, best limits midfield. I just covered that, mate. Come on. It's in that video. The only change I'd make is Foden in for Lookman because he's benched. Should I start Lewandowski, Kane, and Vinicius this match day? Well, you start all your Tuesday players, and your lowest scoring ones after the Tuesday games are done, you sub them off for those yet to play on the Wednesday. Bellingham and Asensio from Saka and Dams for me. And Dams? But yeah, good transfers in. I like that. I'm looking at Asensio myself. I'm probably going to pull the trigger now. I just really hope Mbappe doesn't come back to bite me. Come on, it's about time he does something, for fuck's sake. What could possibly go wrong? So yeah, transfer's done. Now to make sure that so everyone on my bench is playing on the Wednesday except Di Gregorio. I'm going to stick with Alisson in my lineup. Hopefully that doesn't come back to backfire, but if not, it is what it is, right? Salah's my captain for today, and tomorrow I've got Kylian Mbappe. That speaks for itself, really. But yeah, for today I've got Alisson, Grimaldo, Kubarsi, Boskagli, Rafinha, Wirtz, Gittin, Salah, and Alvarez. So a decent balance between Tuesday and Wednesday. So I've got Raul Asensio, Haaland, Kimmich, Kim Min-jae, and Mbappe for tomorrow. So yeah, essentially I've got 5 Wednesday players, and the rest are on the Tuesday. Even my backup goalkeeper, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Yeah, let's wait and see. Let me know if you think Alisson starts and all that jazz. Let's put a quick captaincy poll as well. Timber and Kane did win the vote, if I can even say that, because it keeps on changing. But look, Timber could start. There's just a slight chance of rotation. He needs a rest. A lot of Arsenal players do. Odegaard, Havertz would be others. And it's a decent fixture on paper, but do not be surprised if Dinamo Zagreb get a result against the Gunners. I hope that's not the case, but it is what it is. So I'm going to end that poll. I'm going to put another one now in regards to the captaincy. I'm locked in with Salah, though. Thank you, Ali. Yeah, join the UCL Fantasy League. I'll show you the league code very soon. I prefer Foden over Wirtz on a Limitless, but it's close. I still like Wirtz a lot. Grimaldo, 15 points at ATM will hurt non-owners so much. I'd take that all day long. Even though Alvarez will blank that way, but it is what it is. The FPL Dylan League is more competitive than the whole of United States. Top 1k in US, but 2.7k in FPL Dylan. Wow. I mean, to be fair, look, in the US, it's a growing sport, football, but it's not the biggest sport there. But wow, when you put it like that, it makes the league feel even more special. In UCL Fantasy, though, this is, I think, the biggest league in the world in terms of like, just a mini league in general. So yeah, FPL, that surprised me though. How many points should a captain ideally score on day 1 not to switch on day 2? I think 7-8 is fine at this stage. It's not like in the earlier rounds, particularly in match day 1, I think, where you had 4 chances at the captaincy. So with this, I think you're pretty much fine with 7-8. It also depends on the Wednesday players you've got remaining. In my case, I've got Mbappe. That's definitely worth switching, but I'd be very happy with 7-8. I probably wouldn't stick. Sorry, I would probably stick and not switch it, like I did in match day 6, which went against me. So smash the like button if you haven't already. We are locked in now, but we can still keep the conversation going as we hit 10 super chats. Actually, more than that if you look at the earlier ones. So thank you to those that chimed in with those messages, questions, and comments. I do appreciate it. All the likes, subscriptions, super chatters, patrons, members, those that gift the memberships, all of that is massively appreciated. We have kicked off between Atalanta and Sturm Graz, as well as Monaco and Aston Villa. My final team is Alisson in goal, Boskagli, Kubarsi, Kim Min-jae, and Grimaldo, with Rafinha, Wirtz, Gittin, Salah, Mbappe, and Alvarez. Di Gregorio plays today. Unfortunately, Raul Asensio Haaland, and Kimmich all play tomorrow. So thankfully my bench is in order, and I've got the Matchday 7 captaincy locked in on Salah. Tomorrow it will be Mbappe if needed. That is the current plan, but who knows what football can throw at us today. So yeah, everything's been covered. Inter Milan lineup. It's pretty much locked in. So we can go through that one more time, to be fair, for those that are new, so to speak. Let's go to the different screens, starting with the league. So the code is cCaFxb. It is the biggest mini league in the world, if I'm not mistaken, and we're looking to grow it even further. There's also an FPL league to join. Just click on any of my FPL content. And if you are a member or patron, check out the recently uploaded Transfer Tips podcast, which will be available to all members or all viewers tomorrow, so you get early access as a patron or member. As for my predictions in Predict 6, I've gone for Atletico Madrid 1, Bayer Leverkusen 1, Benfica 1, Barcelona 3, Liverpool 3, Lille 0, but it all depends on the lineups. There could be some slight modifications. Shakhtar Donetsk 1, Brest 2, PSG 1, Man City 2, Feyenoord 1, Bayern Munich 3. So this is the lineup I talked about earlier by Sky Sport Italia. They are very reliable when it comes to Inter Milan. Sommer, Pavard, De Vrij, Bastoni, Dumfries, Barella, Aslani, Mkhitaryan, DeMarco, Lautaro Martinez, and Thuram. As for Atletico, a little bit less convinced about Marca and their predictions, but they've gone for Oblak, Molina, Lenormand, Lenglet, Gallan, Giuliano, De Paul, Barrios, Gallagher, Alvarez, and Griezmann. So we can close these for now. Teams most likely to keep a clean sheet: Arsenal are top, Madrid second, Atalanta, Inter Milan, AC Milan in the top 5. And then we've got Liverpool, Stuttgart, Celtic, Bayern Munich, Juventus, and Borussia Dortmund. As for chance of scoring, Mbappe is top, my new transfer. Let's see how much I can jinx him, because let me just give you a heads up. My FPL moves have been horrendous of late. It seems like everything I touch turns to shit, as Carl Schaefer says to Nathan Drake in Uncharted 2. Vinicius, Undav, Retegui, Kane, Salah, Lookman, Demirovic, Rodrigo, Fonassi, Lewandowski, and Bellingham are all in the top 10. And this was the assumption that they start the game, of course. And the lineups, of course, I've covered already. Stop saying of course. Yeah, Lookman is on the bench, which is a big shame and a big surprise. He was on the thumbnail of this video. I've jinxed him as well. The Dylan jinx knows no bounds, no boundaries there. And of course, with Aston Villa and Monaco, the games have kicked off, and we'll see what happens. I'll probably tune into the Atalanta game fairly soon, but is it really worth it? I mean, I've got none of the players. So yeah, this was my team before making transfers, by the way, and it looks like this now, with Mbappe and Raul Asensio coming in, the injured Saliba, and Jonathan David, who was a waste of a transfer, by the way. I had Garassi originally, and look how that turned out. Thank you, Napstars, I appreciate that. And there will be more UCL Fantasy videos later this week, because we've got another deadline in Matchday 8 in just 1 week's time. I mean, it is going to be it's going to be quite something. But because everyone plays at the same time, the Limitless and Wildcard team video will be combined into one, rather than making it separate, because ultimately you get unlimited transfers for Matchday 9. Thank you, Napstas, for gifting more memberships. Massively appreciate, mate. You didn't have to, since you've already done it in a recent stream, so thank you very much. So Matthew Duncan, the Zeolotic Show, Mario Rodriguez, Darius21, and Durgesh, enjoy the memberships. Check out the FPL video that's released just a few hours ago, actually. The transfer tips for Game Week 23. 11 players that are highlighted to buy, hold, sell, and skip. Thank you, Sudindra. You're funny with your video and your talks of your FPL transfers. Don't worry, your luck will turn good soon. I hope so. Thank you very much. Keep up the great work and videos, always enjoying them. Well, I'm glad someone is, because it's not for everyone. Who gives a crap, though? But thank you. And there's more FPL and UCL Fantasy videos, unfortunately, for those in my household, my neighbours, and also for those that just hate me. It is what it is. I did Mbappe and Miller in for Saka and David. Good luck, Dylan. I like Miller a lot. I've mentioned him without even considering that transfer myself, but I think that could work out very well for you. I'm hoping Mbappe does, for our sake. Nick says Raya, Majecki, Boskagli, Kim Min-jae, Van Dijk, Theo, Mittelstadt, Lookman, Rafinha, Wirtz, Musiala, Kun, Mbappe, Alvarez, Lewandowski. All the best to you. A Lookman goal off the bench would be great, and the rest looks very solid. Mittelstadt should start, despite the recent benchings. Yeah, it looks very, very promising. Dylan jinx Mbappe? Well, I've tripled up on Liverpool and FPL, so if they start faltering, you're welcome. AVL and Atletico Madrid win. Yeah, I think so. I think, well, Aston Villa at least, I think they'll win. Atletico, I'm going for a draw right now. Is it alright if I play 5 players today? It's not ideal, which I said earlier for Sydney, I believe. The ideal balance is 8 to 7 or 9 to 6 with having more Tuesday players. But there's no exact science. You can have 5 Tuesday players and still do very well. The reason why I recommend having more Tuesday is because you can fully maximize your substitutions. Yeah, locked in as well. Cylindra, good luck to you. And also Ryan. Kobel or Carnesecchi? It would have been Carnesecchi for me. Ended up going bold and did Saka, David to Elise and De Ketelaere. I don't know why I'm suddenly bugging out saying the Belgian's name. But yeah, I like those moves and I'm very bullish on De Ketelaere. Fantasy games where I score above 60 points better than FPL? Yeah, fair enough. Lock, yes we are indeed. I do. Avis, mainly in media, and also a few gigs here and there, you could say. Cyberpunk reference. Rafinha captain, yes, I like that. I do prefer Salah, but if he's benched, you'll end up probably having the last laugh. Good luck, users. Try not to blame variance with outcomes if you can. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I've had a lot of variance myself in FPL. I've made some mistakes, but I also feel like it's been compounded with a bit of bad luck, but it happens, you know, you can't cry about it. Cylindra says, decided to take a -4 to sell Pulisic, Lookman and Schick to Bellingham, Kun and De Ketelaere. Hope it goes well. Captain Rafinha. Interesting stuff indeed. You'd expect a high-scoring game between Benfica and Barcelona. Whenever I've captained Rafinha or been bullish on Barcelona, it just hasn't paid off, and when I don't, they go off and do really well, so maybe just sums up my timing. Twisted Parkeepers' squad: Manyan, Di Gregorio, Kim Min-jae, Schlotterbeck, Kubarsi, Gabriel, Van Dijk, Rafinha, Wirtz, Gittin, Salah, Kimmich, Gyökeres, Alvarez and Vinicius. I like that a lot. I've got a bit of FOMO about Vinicius because I went for Mbappe. It seems like a 50-50 call, and I really hope it's not a case of Mbappe blanking and Vinicius getting 13 plus points. Almost went extra bold and captain De Ketelaere, but I'm 22k rank and too scared. Yeah, good rank anyway, and I think having him is already enough of a differential. Rafa cap as well. What, Nadal? Rafa? Oh, Rafinha, yeah. My team, nicely done. Those fixtures on screen are now changed to Matchday 8. Yeah, they are. I realised that when it happened. Maybe I should refresh it. Let's refresh it. Why not? And see. Oh, I think that's just a glitch. Yeah, they're not going to change that anytime soon. So I'm just going to leave that there for now. Just for those that haven't seen my team yet. Thank you, Jerry. Thanks for everything, Dylan. Good luck and enjoy the matches. Likewise, this stream has gone really quickly. I'm not going to lie. It's been almost 2 hours and a half. It has felt like much less than that. Number 1 in the league, Captain De Ketelaere. Wow. Maybe that's a good sign for you, and you might end up regretting not captaining him, but you've got the Wednesday ones to fall back on anyway. I would have captained Salah over Rafinha, but we are locked in. You can't make any changes. Lockdown, Dumfries and Rafinha in for Saliba and Veerman. Yeah, let's not say the words lockdown. I don't think that's still quite... I haven't recovered from that yet, but like that. Thank you very much, Wei Seng. Selb says, I would have 600 points already, but lost 18 points for getting subs. You're still doing really well, though. Yeah, I mean, that's... I don't know exactly what rank that is, but that's very high, I'd imagine. It happens, you know. It's quite typical in UCL Fantasy, especially if you're new. Same with Euros and World Cup, but it's a very big part of the game. That's why I always try to emphasize it throughout my videos and streams, even though it can sound repetitive. I'm trying to just reach out to as many new players as possible and get them on track. I did Demirovic and Saka to Mbappe and Kun. I like that. Really good transfers. Alvarez to Rodrigo for -4 worth it. I think it's an upgrade. I'm not sure if it's worth a -4. And ultimately, my favourite Madrid assets are Mbappe, Vinicius and Bellingham. But Rodrigo's fine. He's the forgotten man now, you could say. De Ketelaere, Captain Lock-in. Wow. Interesting, Zvonimir. Yeah, exactly. Thank you to Napstars once again. Captain Salah Rafinha, covered. Atalanta very close from a corner, says Goldhead. Edamis says, ended up captaining Rafinha and transferred out Pulisic and Haaland to Bellingham and Vinicius instead of Lookman. Hopefully Real goes big against Salzburg. Good luck. It's very possible, mate. I've been burnt by Salzburg with that Blazwich pick, despite it being a budget goalkeeper and yada yada yada. I hope I get a bit of comeuppance and a big return by Mbappe. Bada says Saliba, Saka, David out, in Vinicius, Rafinha and Rudiger. spot on all those moves. I really like that. You'll see that in the upcoming video. I got like 40. It's very disappointing in FPL. It's just been bad transfer after bad transfer, injury after injury, and just bad timing in general. But we'll see what happens to Liverpool because I've tripled up on them. So if some of those assets start blanking, what can I say? Top Infan Team Champions League, Dylan. Thanks for your vids. Thank you very much. Nice. Very nicely done. I've heard about Fan Team before. Never played it myself. Went with Gabriel for Powell, Elise for Saka, and Kane for Alvarez for a -4, says Roy Martin. Could have done Trossard in for Paxal, but did it in case I need Kane captain tomorrow. Thanks for your content, Dylan. Yeah, I don't think Trossard or Martinelli are bad options this week, even Odegaard or Havertz, but Arsenal have been so blunt in the attack. They played fairly well against Aston Villa offensively, but still not enough to win the game and to kill it. They lacked that lethal finisher in front of goal. I think ultimately you made some very good moves. Not having a Madrid attacker this match day seems riskier than a -4 to get Haaland out. The Ipswich game might have short-sighted us a bit. Did David to Mbappe, Haaland to Kane, and Diaz to Kun. Yeah, like I said, look, in the end I kept Haaland, and I might regret it. But the kind of upside to keeping Haaland is, if I don't wildcard in matchday 8, I've got him in place for Club Brugge at home. And that way I got rid of David, who for me is kind of a weak link, so to speak, against Liverpool. I've got Salah and Alisson already. But a -4 hit from Haaland to Mbappe or Vinicius, I think, is actually worthwhile. Went Haaland to Kane and Saka to Foden. Fingers crossed. Yeah, good luck, mate. All the best. Yeah, I might end up regretting keeping Haaland in the end if he blanks. But if he gets a goal, I guess that's fine. A brace would be very nice, of course, but not too sure. So I've got 3 transfers and own only Salah and no Everton players. Thoughts on João Pedro to Gakpo and Raya to Pickford, Alisson this game week, or should I sell Robinson or Kirkes to Trent? Yeah, I like Robinson and Kirkes. I think they're both worth holding long term. But if you can buy Trent, that's a great upgrade. I've said this many times, especially in my recent video, which is out now for members. I think Trent is the second best double gimmick 24 asset behind Salah. And despite the fact that he doesn't offer the best value in that defense overall, I still think he's worth it for the high ceiling. I do like João Pedro to Gakpo though, and if Gakpo's benched today, I'd be very keen on buying him in. I think he could start the next 3 Premier League games, and technically he has done for the last 10 in the Prem. So yeah, they're all good moves. I think Raya to Pickford is the good transfer to make next week. I wouldn't do it in Game Week 23 though. So yeah, ultimately I think João Pedro to Gakpo, yeah, I'd do it first if that is your... To be fair, I don't think you can do João Pedro to Gakpo and Kirkes to Trent at the same time, can you? Yeah, if I had to prioritise one, it would be Robinson to Trent, I think. And you keep Kirkes for the long term. I play Serie A Fantasy. Atalanta wasn't in great form lately, especially offensively. Yeah, they have slipped in the Serie A table, down to 3rd. They're still going very strong, but you are right, they have struggled a little bit. I was tempted by De Ketelaere, but Atalanta haven't fared too well whenever Lookman's been absent, so I couldn't go ahead with it. Yeah, I mean, we did have that 0-0 against Celtic when we all thought Celtic would get battered. So it goes to show you. It is 1-0 though. Monaco just scored. Aston Villa are trailing once again. Thank you, Ryan. Wow, it's very early for dinner. I mean, I come from a different place, I guess. I have dinner like 9:30 p.m. Jesus Christ. Redegi goal. Oh. So wait, Monaco and Atalanta have just scored. Yeah, so not De Ketelaere. Well, there's the FPL Dylan curse, I guess. Look, it's early days. Give him a chance, but... Oh, dear. Who got the assist, though, I'm wondering? I'm not watching any game at the moment. I'll probably tune in after the stream is done, but... Yeah, let's see. So, the assist has gone to Sapa Costa. If you do have him, enjoy your points, because I've got none so far. No players, to be fair. And Singo scored for Monaco, not for the first time this season. Very interesting stuff. A good start by Monaco. All right, so we've got early goals. We tend to get them in the Champions League. Would Trent be worth a -4? In FPL, yes, and I've taken a -4 already, by the way. I've made early transfers, gone all in on Liverpool. Let's either jinx or get points. Either way, I'm leaving here with something, as Denzel Washington says. Have I butchered the saying? Probably. Forza Juve, says Guru. Good luck. Enjoy the football. Tomorrow, captain. From those options, it'd be Bellingham for me, but I'd be slightly tempted by Musiala. Gyökeres is also very solid. But, yeah, Bellingham, I think. Predict 6, Atletico 0, Leverkusen 1, Benfica 1, Barcelona 1, Liverpool 3, Lyon 0, Shakhtar 1, Brest 2, PSG 1, City 3, Feyenoord 1, Bayern 3. Yeah, for a few of them we've got the same predictions, but we're mainly kind of going a bit different for today's matches. So I've gone for Barcelona and, well, them to win and a draw between Atletico and Leverkusen. My transfers were Van Dijk for Pau Torres and Vinicius for Haaland. Nearly kept, don't rate PSG. Yeah, I don't rate PSG too much either, but I also don't rate Erling Haaland too much in recent games, but maybe now he'll start getting some goals again. Already have Mbappe. I was tempted to Rodrigo, who is cheaper than Bellingham and Vinicius and is in better form. Yeah, I think Mbappe and Vinicius are the kind of ideal picks in that Madrid attack. Bellingham is a nice differential in the midfield. Well, I say differential, maybe in terms of like engaged managers. We have gone quite cold on him, and I sold him a couple of weeks ago. Singo and Carrera combining for the goal, defender's dream. I just hope I get something like that very soon in FPL or UCL Fantasy. It's been a while. I've done Grimaldo in for Saliba and Foden in for Saka. Good transfers in. Quite surprising though, because you're buying players with tough fixtures this week, but they can both do very well. Sold Lewandowski and Pulisic for Elise and Mbappe. What do you think? There's always a risk selling Lewandowski, and there are reports or predicted lineups that indicate Pulisic will start, but I like the players in, especially Mbappe. Maybe it's time to go back for City assets in FPL. The hard games can be a motivation for them. Possibly, but you would expect the lowest ceiling for Foden, for example, who has 48 points in the last 4 game weeks in Fantasy Premier League. But yeah, I mean, if he continues this form, he could score against Chelsea, Arsenal, etc. Defence saved me, had Trent, Van Dijk and Robinson. But yeah, other than that, attackers all blanked except Eze. I think Robinson's the only one for me defensively who did well. Cole missed out, so I had Veltman's 2-point off the bench. I needed Jackson to do something, and he failed yet again. He's out of the door. Bye-bye. I'll cover that in my team selection video in a couple of days. God damn it. I had Retegui in before switching to De Ketelaere. Sorry. So sorry. I was quite bullish on De Ketelaere. I still said Retegui's fine, but I had a preference for the Belgian. Let's see if I ended up being wrong. But it is what it is. Captain Retegui, fair play. He has been quite poor recently. Yeah, Sappacosta assist. Yeah, I'll see you very soon, Thadindra. Only a couple of days until that deadline stream. Eric says was close to Sappacosta captain here. Wow. I mean, at least you got him. Enjoy the points. Tomorrow captain says Petros, Bellingham, Leao, Quirkeresh. I covered that, mate. Bellingham for me. Dylan, would you have taken out Trent for a -4? I'm guessing that is. In UCL Fantasy, probably not. I think he'll be benched, but there aren't many defenders I'm that keen on taking a hit for. So happy I did Gavardio to Sappacosta. Nicely done. I thought about selling Alvarez for the Ketelaere for a hit to be able to buy Bellingham. Ended up keeping Alvarez, not taking a hit, but got Gittins and couldn't get Bellingham. Well, it's early days, right? I mean, just because Atalanta have scored and he's not involved, it doesn't mean he'll blank, but it's not looking too shabby for you right now. I think Gittins is a nice transfer. Singo used to score even when he was in Torino. Yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised to see him get on the end of a few opportunities this season, but maybe something to look at. My new rule, lock in by 5:40 or 5 minutes early. So many times I've panicked and got the lineup wrong so many times, cost me points and stress. Yeah, that's great advice, to be fair. I mean, I typically, give that advice to people and recommend it, but I ultimately make late transfers and I've never actually been burned by it. Even the one time where I had like a slight issue with my like substitutions and stuff, it was nothing like that sinister. And I was able to rectify it during the sub window. But yeah, it is something that you don't want to do. Try to lock in your team, have a good idea of what you want to do well in advance, and then lock in with 5 minutes to go. That's the perfect thing to do. I actually did it today. I think 3-4 minutes in advance, I had everything sorted. Should I do Foden to Mbumo and Ricolos to Trent for a -4? Yes. No, I say yes because of Trent and the double game week. Selling Foden for a hit is risky with his form, but I like Mbumo anyway. I take the hit. Thank you, Miguel. It's important to get better place in the league stage, especially knockout round match. Yeah, typically in UCL Fantasy, you make a lot of grounds or establish a nice foundation in the group stages, and then you solidify in the latter stages. But it's going to be a bit different this season with the knockout playoff rounds. Welcome, Naman. Good to see you. Kayo says, I picked up Acosta instead of Kolasinac in the last seconds. Fair play. I mean, still early days. I think it could still be close because of ball recoveries, but Sabakas, I mean, you'd be surprised if Kolasinac outscored him now. Am I a little worried? Just bought a third Liverpool Storm this weekend. Yeah, I've bought a triple up in Liverpool. Like I said, jinx or points, give me something. 28 points in FPL, worst game week this season. Yeah, it's been disappointing for me. Not my worst, but not good enough. It's another red arrow. Vert's got my armband. All the best. I'm tired of Jackson. Gakpo is my replacement. Yeah, I mean, it's that double, right? Otherwise, Mateta will be very intriguing to me. Vissa, but I've got a triple up in Brentford because I'm stupid. But yeah, Gakpo's nice. Vinicius, Mbappe, and Garassi for my Limitless team. Nicely done. I like that Vinicius Mbappe combo. And Garassi's been good all season. I'm just slightly concerned about Dortmund. They've been very off it recently. Early question, but next week, Kane, Haaland, Kane. Yeah, I'm not sure who that third forward is. Plus 4.5 million defender for Alvarez, Gyökeres, Saliba for a -4, or Kane, Verts for Alvarez, Gyökeres, Milot. Sorry, I just need to process it a little bit. I'm a bit all over the place here. Or Kane, Verts for Alvarez. I mean, I wouldn't want to sell Verts or Kane next week if that's what you're saying. I'm guessing you're buying them in, right? Even Alvarez and Gyökeres are fine for Matchday 8. Milot is more of a sell, I think. Voice correct. Yeah, I think my preference would be... Yeah, I just don't know who your third forward is in the first scenario. Kane, Haaland, and I don't know who, because you said Kane twice. Kep Lookman, hopefully you'll make a fruitful cameo. It's possible. Wait, what? Is it a Storm in Liverpool? Yeah. Imagine too many Storms and stuff. Storm Dara. Bloody hell. Let's not get started on that again. I'm considering Pickford in for Raya. I'd do that in game week 24. I think Raya's got a better chance of a clean sheet against Wolves compared to Everton against Brighton. So I think ultimately you make that move in 24 and then don't look back. Yeah, I think Marmoush, I mean, good signing on paper. City are showing ambition. They're having a poor season. They're now in good form and they're making some positive signings. Something I wish Arsenal could do. Why am I so much worse at UCL Fantasy than FPL? I mean, I don't know. I'm naturally better at UCL Fantasy, I guess, than FPL. But I think a lot comes down to luck, mate, if I'm being honest. It's not like in UCL Fantasy, I don't know, I've got so much more in-depth knowledge about Europe's top 5 leagues than the Premier League specifically. Maybe, in my case, FPL is more competitive. But for you, why are you maybe not as good or performing as well in UCL Fantasy? I think luck has a lot to do with it, if I'm being honest. I'm hoping Salah 14 points with a 66-minute appearance, so he tears up Ipswich this weekend as well. Yeah, that's the ideal scenario from an FPL perspective. I don't mind jinxing him, though. I'm not going to lie. What are your favourite sports to watch outside of football? Tennis, although I haven't been watching the Australian Open. I know Djokovic beat Alcaraz tonight, or today. F1, that's pretty much the three sports I watch the most. Last chance for Nuri Sahin. If Dortmund lose, he's out. Ten Hag rumoured to replace him. Yeah, and Ten Hag's also rumoured to go to Turkey, I think, to Galatasaray. Got 28 points too in FPL. Dropped the 100k places to mid 200k. Yeah, you're still in a good position. I'd rather be where you are than where I am, for example. But yeah, my red arrow was also around 100k places. So Verts in for Milot. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think that's probably the best thing to do. Whether always the enemy for Liverpool? This season, maybe. We could really see the Storm really affect Prem. I'm fed up of these storms and postponements. And I went early on my transfers, so maybe I'm the curse again. I mean, I don't have an influence on weather, do I? Nah. Did Foden and Kluivert for Bruno and Fernandes and Eze in FPL? Not sure about that. So you bought Foden and Kluivert? I mean, I like Kluivert long term, but as I discuss in today's transfer tips, and in fact I also highlight Foden, I think timing's very important. So I think Foden's more of a hold than a buy, and I'd purchase Kluivert in game week 25, not when he's facing Forest and Liverpool, but it could work for you. Yeah, there's a storm forecast that hits lots of the UK, yellow warning so far, cold impact travel, light damage to some buildings. Well, previously it was an orange, flag, orange warning before their Man United game, and it still went ahead, right? So unless it starts, elevating and getting worse, he's still expected to go ahead, right? Looking at the storm, it's hitting Liverpool Friday morning, 4 a.m, and there's more rain Sunday at 3 a.m. Liverpool plays Saturday at 3 p.m, so it should be fine. Yeah, it's funny, you know, FPL and football can turn us into accountants and all this type of jazz. It's funny, right? But I appreciate the context. I'm not taking the piss, by the way. I agree with you anyway. I think the game will go ahead as things stand unless it turns into a red or orange warning. Any good series recommendations? There's a lot. There's a lot. For me, the best shows I've watched are The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, The Wire, Attack on Titan. I like Deadwood as well, a cowboy show. I'm actually watching Succession at the moment, hence the Greg references that I'm doing recently. There's a lot of shows. Honestly, I could go all day. Rome. There's so many. Dark. It's that time of UCL Fantasy stream again where we talk about movies and stuff, which I like, by the way. It's just, yeah, it's an extensive list. I could go on and on about shows and even films. Oh, from 2024. Brother, what's that? What's that, brother? Yeah, I don't know. What actually was released in 2024? I need to check. Let's check. 2024 films. I think I saw something. Not most of these, though. Yeah, even Gladiator 2, I watched a few minutes and I was like, yeah, I'm out of it. What did I watch in... Oh yeah, Joker 2. Let's not talk about that. That doesn't exist in my mind. Not a great... Probably Dune was the best film I watched. Dune 2. And I don't think it's amazing. Like, some people think it's like a 10 out of 10. Fair enough. I think it's great cinematography. I think it's a good film. 8 out of 10 maybe, but that's probably the best one I've watched. Yeah. There's probably something else, but I don't know. I haven't seen many recent films. I'm kind of watching the classics. I've still got to watch Once Upon a Time in the West, for example. Mbappe was unbelievable versus Las Palmas. Yeah, but can he beat the FPL Dylan curse? Find out after the break. Could, not cold. My bad. Yeah. And yeah, if it's an autocorrect thing, don't worry. Salah captain has better game than Isak captain. Debatable. I mean, Southampton have been slightly better recently, but they lost 5-0 not so long ago against Brentford. Yeah, Palmer's got the most difficult game of the lot for sure. Hey Dylan, you talked about skipping Kluivert, but is Semenyo any better? So yeah, look, what I mean by that, about skipping Kluivert, I make it very clear in the video, which you can watch right now, and maybe you've done so already. I think they're good purchases long term, but in terms of timing, I'd recommend waiting a little bit after the Forest and Liverpool games. Is Semenyo better in terms of open play threat? Arguably so. And also in terms of underlying stats, but if I'm buying one now, it's probably Kluivert because he's on penalties and he's got 2 hat-tricks this season, so his ceiling is so high. I mean, if you bench that, like some people did against Newcastle, you're fuming, but yeah, I think it's very close between those two, but a slight preference for Kluivert. Imagine Ten Hag versus Jose, and also Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the three United former managers, or former United managers, battling it out. Turns us into stock traders too. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good sign of this passion. It brings out the best of us. If Ten Hag goes to Turkey, there are 3 ex-United managers going to Turkey. Yes, Jose, Oli, and potentially Ten Hag, in arguably the 3 biggest clubs of Turkey as well. Favorite player who plays for a Spanish team? That's a great question. I like Yamal a lot. I like Valverde from Real Madrid. I like Pedri. I like the Paul. You know, it's going to sound ridiculous, but I might go for an Argentine, you know, because I'm from Argentina. There you are. World Cup, la la, Copa America. I'm going to say one of Alvarez or DePaul. So, sorry. Removing my bias aside and, like, you know, going for someone who doesn't play for your team or something, then I'm probably going to say Yamal's my favorite. Have you tried Indian food before? Yes, I have it most weeks, mate. Yeah, I love Indian food. What do you like? Saag paneer. Curry saag paneer. A lot of different curries, to be fair. It's not... I mean, mango chutney, I like the sauce. Papadoms, I mean, there's so much. I like pilla rice. Yeah, there's a lot of things I like with Indian food. Start 3, bench 2, Munoz, Kanate, Gabriel, Hall, Murillo for next week. Gabriel start, Lewis Hall, and Kanate. I'd bench the others. Landman series was good this year. Yeah, I'm not sure which shows I've watched from last year, 2024. I mean, I watched Succession. Well, I am watching Succession, which is fairly recent. But yeah, and I was asked about films earlier of 2024, and the only decent one I could think of is Dune 2. As for shows, I need to check. I mean, this gimmick FPL Salah has better points than all three. Yeah, by 1 point. I mean, they all flopped in the end. People selling Palmer for Kluivert, yeah, for me that's bad decision. Did you watch Challengers since you like tennis? No. Dune 2, Honora, The Substance, and A Different Man. I'll have a look. I've heard of some of them. I think Honora is one of them. One that I've heard about, but yeah. I'll be honest, I'm more of a classic guy maybe. I just like older films. I think, generally speaking, we've seen better. Thank you, deleted user. Retegi Brace. Oh dear. Oh, here come the pitchforks. Go on. Here we go. Anyone else tempted to get trolled by DCL again for the double because he scored last game? No. He's also covered in my Transtis video, which has been published for members and patrons today. He is a skip. Spoiler alert. So far, do you think this new Champions League format improved in any way? Slightly. What I like about it is the fact that teams like Madrid and Bayern Munich are struggling to qualify for the round of 16 directly. I like that. There are reports that Amram's very pissed off at his squad performance and punched a screen television in the stadium. Well, I wouldn't believe everything you hear, but yeah, I mean, people could make that up based on his comments about United having the worst squad in their history and stuff like that. He didn't score. Okay, maybe that's a troll then. Or I don't know what happened. Kolasinac 3 recoveries already. Still a good option. I think people will be more gutted if De Ketelaere blanks compared to Kolasinac not getting an attack in return when you kind of stake him up or hold him up against Sappacosta. I'm watching the game. Retegi hasn't scored. That's a troll. We get quite a few of those. Not as much as you'd expect. Let's hold the horses, though. I don't want to see more. I cook Indian food loads. European food largely dull. I do like Greek food, Turkish. Yeah, there are some good cuisine. I mean, I like a bit of everything. Chinese, South Korean, Mexican, Argentinian, Latin food in general. Yeah, there's a lot of good food out there. I'll be honest, I couldn't answer this. Especially with music, I'm more of an old school guy. I like listening to stuff from before. Yeah, from 2024, I don't think there's anything. Big up Turkish food. Of course you'll say that, Goldhead. Of course. Big up Turkey, though. Singo's taking the piss. A goal and 8 balls recovered already. 8 balls recovered? Hey, give me time to end the stream. What the hell? That's crazy. Yeah, I haven't tried Moroccan food. Maybe I've tried aspects of it, but not like full Moroccan dish and going to a restaurant. So I need to check that. Which two from Ahmad and Murphy and Wissa would you bench? Well, that decision might be made for you if Jacob Murphy is out injured, but if he isn't, my advice would be to bench, I think, Amad Diallo, actually. Also, for your community post, isn't keeping Gabriel better? Well, yes, mate, it is, but I might have made a move already, let's just put it that way. But the reason why is to buy Trent, really. And with Konate's recent comments, there is a slight concern that he might not start both games in the double. I mean, he's just coming off the back of an injury, and he said himself he's playing on painkillers, which isn't a great sign. He's also fairly injury-prone. Yeah, I haven't tried that Ansari, but I've heard good things about all these different casinos, to be fair. This year's Australian Open has been absolute cinema. Lots of 5-set thrillers. I haven't seen any of it, but I'm guessing Sinner's the favourite. Djokovic will be second. Obviously, he's got the outstanding record in this competition. Might bring in Moyes for Asman, then switch to Iraola. I considered that when Everton went 3-0 up, but I've made my bed. I've done a triple up in Liverpool. I could still find a way to get David Moyes and activate the chip. We'll wait and see. I think a lot will be... we'll find out a lot against Brighton because Spurs were a great team to play against, in my opinion. Die with a Smile from Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga just listened a couple of weeks ago and already stuck in my head. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of any of those musicians, but obviously everyone's got their own opinion. Dortmund double up for the last 2 game weeks. They're in poor form, so be very careful with that sort of thing. But I like Gittins. Garassi's a good striker, and they've got decent ball recoverers like Emre Can and Schlotterbeck, who aren't too shabby. Lookman in the second half. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, yeah, if it's similar to Indian food, I'm going to love it, probably, so... Asman, that's quite an abbreviation. Yeah. I'm gutted I have to bench Rodgers versus West Ham. Can only start him over Palmer or Ahmad. I'd start him over Ahmad, I'm not going to lie. But you're a United fan. I can understand why you might want to go for Ahmad, who has that capability of scoring a hat-trick, which Rodgers might not. Bench one of these 8. So we'll stick with these FPL questions more so in those streams, of course, but we'll go for this one as well. I think a Kluivert right now. Also, who to captain, Salah or Isak? I'm currently on Salah. The fact Ipswich conceded 6 to City, and I think Southampton, I mean, Newcastle should win, but I think it might be closer than the Liverpool versus Ipswich Town game. So I'm going to go for Salah right now. And to bench one of those 8, I agree with you. It's going to be Kluivert at this moment in time. One of him or Chris Wood, and I think Kluivert is probably the one to bench, which could be a disaster. Best Liverpool player, I think Gakpo over Alisson, but I think the other one to consider is Van Dijk. But it would be Gakpo for me, just about. Especially if he's benched tonight against Lille. I wanted to start rolling this week, but buying Raya just hasn't been worth it. Downgrade incoming. Well, I bought Sells last week and I broke him against the easiest opponent on paper in the league. Yeah, I might even end up just going to Pickford and making another goalkeeper transfer. At this rate, I don't care. But I understand your perspective. I think Pickford's the best one to buy. I get that gold head, but at the same time, so is Rodgers for Aston Villa. What do you think of Troy Deeney comments? Salah walking off first while team celebrated. He said not the races, maybe a little disinterested. I didn't hear that, but if I'm not mistaken, he has said a few things about Salah before. I don't know. I mean, there is something to it with the Liverpool situation. Players like Van Dijk, Trent and Salah not signing contracts. Ultimately, FSG have done a howler here, and it could ruin an otherwise great season. Top 5 fixtures for Matchday 8. We'll talk more about this in the upcoming videos, but just to kind of give you a quick insight, you know, not much thought into it, just kind of like a quick opinion. I think the best fixtures for Matchday 8 would include, Bayern Munich against Bratislava is probably number 1, actually. I think Aston Villa against Celtic is fairly decent. Is it top 5? But yeah, Bayern Munich, Bayer Leverkusen, Atletico Madrid, Man City, and the 5th one would potentially be Sporting. Yeah, that's a decent list, I think, for you. Even Real Madrid against Brest isn't too shabby, of course, but I think the others have a better opponent. The Stone Roses debut LP is amazing for those that haven't heard it. Yeah, I've heard a few Stone Roses songs. Not many, but I've liked what I've heard. Hot take, even as a Liverpool fan, Trent is kind of overpriced and just maybe a tad bit overrated. Yeah, I've said that all along. I don't think he's worth that price tag. You'll find better value from Hall, Gabriel and others, but I've taken the plunge. That's all I'm going to say. Worst and best pundits, EP on UCL. There's some that escape my mind. There's one on BT Sport. I think he's like an expert on Italian football. He's pretty decent. I think Hargreaves isn't too shabby, by the way. I think he's a decent pundit. You know, he doesn't say things for controversy and stuff. I just think he offers a balanced take a lot of the time. So Owen Hargreaves might be a surprising one for me to mention, but I think he's decent. I think Ian Wright is good. Some of the worst include Lee Dixon. I think he's terrible. Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher. Yeah, not for me. I've got JP and Raul starting over Rodgers and right now, unsure though. I get that. I would consider starting Rodgers though. Jimenez against United is decent to be fair, but he's such a weird pick. He hauls when you least expect him to. Yeah, Connor Bradley starts. Yeah, and I did buy Trent in FPL. That's all I'm saying. Let's not spoil too much for my team selection video, but yeah, good news for me FPL-wise, I guess. Bradley, not a surprise for him to start. And Sari says, my last 2 FPL gimmicks have been class, went from 960k to 300k, and in UCL, I'm 60k. Yeah, very good progress and a good rank in UCL Fantasy. For me, it's the opposite in FPL, but looking to get back on track with triple Liverpool. Come on, you Reds! Sell Sarr this week or wait one more week? He's been so frustrating. Good fixture against Brentford for an attacker, but yeah, it just depends who you can go to. I'd be tempted to sell. Who's worse in terms of performance? United or Spurs? Well, United are a much bigger club, so what they're doing is obviously a bigger disappointment. I'd argue Spurs have better players, though, than Man United, so nah, it's probably still Man United for me, just because of the stature of the club. One of the biggest in the world, the biggest in England, arguably, so yes, United. Sells in my team since Game Week 9, and since you buy him, he gets 1 point. Well, to be fair, though, it's one Game Week, all right? I know I'm a jinx, but If I keep Sales for another week, and maybe, let's say, 3 more weeks, and he blanks in all of them, then yeah, I'll take responsibility. But I also think Nottingham Forest took their foot off the gas, and they basically were very complacent in the game. Should I sell Gordon to Mbumo in Game Week 25? Yeah, I think so. Unfortunately, I support Arsenal. I think Lee Dixon's terrible, I'm not going to lie. He really... Like, commentators really piss me off, but I have to say, I just don't like most of what he says. I just don't like him. I don't think he's a good pundit. He doesn't offer any insight. Just my opinion. Trent bench today means he's nailed on to start for the next few Premier League matches. You'd think so, but for double Game Week 24, there's a massive gap between both games, and you've got other cup competitions. But I think Trent will start the next 3 Prem games, and I've bought him. Let's see how he can do. Let's see if I jinx him. Salah deserves a big raise, but Liverpool owner doesn't want to raise it. Salah wants to stay, and if both sides don't agree to raise his salary, yeah, I get you. I mean, ultimately, footballers are overpaid, but in the context of this oversaturated and overpaid market, yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you could say Salah deserves it. But yeah, Liverpool have just, their owners have done a shambles with this contract situation. What was that voice? It was a quick Scouse voice, you know. Semenyo or Chris Wood to start? Chris Wood. They both return in the reverse fixture back in Game Week 1, though. I do not have Sleeper. Never tried it out before. Mateta or Semenyo this week? Mateta. Which pull attacker is most nailed apart from Salah? It's probably going to be Gakpo. Yeah, line up soon, but if I stay here until that happens, we're never going to end. So it is time to call it a day. I know. Oh, yeah. But it has been 3 hours on the dot as soon as we say that. So it is time to wrap up. Thank you to those that have tuned in. It has been a blast. If you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new, and also hit that notification bell so you never miss a single FPL or UCL Fantasy upload, and check all the links in the description below for my Patreon and the championships for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks. The Discord server, FPL League Draft Hound, as well as Spotify can also be found there. The same goes for Blue Sky, and yeah, Twitter and Instagram, Dylan RCM, Blue Sky, FPL Dylan. Keep your eyes peeled, by the way. If you are a member or patron, there is a transcripts video already available to you, and you gain early access to all of my content before anybody else. Thank you, Darius. All the best to you. And also, Bran. Thank you, Ansari. Thanks for the advice in both FPL and UCL Fantasy. Have a good rest of the day. Likewise, UCL Fantasy points. Great football. That is the aim. Hopefully we get that. Thank you, Bada. Thank you, Lager, as well. Always good to see you. Napstars, thank you for the memberships being gifted in the last couple of streams, and the super chats and all the great contributions to the channel. I already hate that I used a -4 for Decathlari. Yeah, sorry about that. I was quite bullish on him. Maybe he'll do something in the second half, but it looks like Retegi is doing the business right now. Let's see, though. Let's give it some time. Good luck, Wei Seng. And yeah, as Darius says, thank you, Napstars, for gifting the memberships. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and UCL Fantasy content. For those non-patrons and members, the transfer tips video should be published tomorrow. And keep your eyes peeled for the best wildcard team and the team selection. And for Matchday 8, for next week, by the way, so a quick turnaround for UCL Fantasy, I'll be combining the best wildcard and limitless teams into one video. And then, of course, doing the team selection and the deadline stream next week, which is going to be very hectic. All the lineups at the same time. Let's not even begin to talk about that. We'll think about it when the time comes. But take care, enjoy the football. I'll see you very soon, and I wish you all the best luck in UCL Fantasy.